It is literally impossible to be a woman. You are so beautiful and so smart, and it kills me that you don't think you're good enough. Like, we have to always be extraordinary, but somehow we're always doing it wrong. You have to be thin, but not too thin. And you can never say you want to be thin. You have to say you want to be healthy. But also, you have to be thin. You have to have money. Because you can't ask for money because that's crass. And you have to be a boss, but you can't be mean. You have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas. You're supposed to love being a mother, but don't talk about your kids all the damn time. You have to be a career woman, but also be looking out for other people. You have to answer for men's bad behavior, which is insane. But if you point that out, you're accused of complaining. You're supposed to stay pretty for men, but not so pretty that you tempt them too much or that you threaten other women because you're supposed to be a part of the sisterhood. But always stand out and always be grateful. But never forget that the system is rigged. So find a way to acknowledge that, but also always be grateful, right? You have to never get old, never be rude, never show off, never be selfish, never fall down, never fail, never show fear, never get out of line. It's too hard. It's contradictory, and nobody gives you a medal or says thank you. And it turns out, in fact, that not only are you doing everything wrong, but also everything is your fault. And I'm just so tired of watching myself and every single other woman tie herself in the knot so that people will like us. And if all that is also true for a doll just representing women, then I don't know. Also truck nuts. It's Halloween Havoc 1998 this week. Oh, nothing good.
Okay, man.
It's an interesting start to the day.
I'm not sure. I am equal parts confused and impressed with that intro because you channeled some shit that I didn't know you had in you.
Is that from the Barbie movie?
That is absolutely from the Barbie movie.
Because as you were going,
good.
like, me and Jones were looking at each other like, where the fuck is he going with this? And then I was like, wait, I think that's from the Barbie movie.
It is from the Barbie movie.
Okay, well, there we go.
Once you said doll, I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I was... What really goes better with WCW?
Because I was like, we're not the type of show that gives life advice to others.
No.
Not typically, unless it's just me.
That's a terrible idea.
Oh boy! Well, gentlemen, how are you guys doing? You know what? We had a pretty eventful week or so. We had a couple of birthdays that passed relatively recently.
We did have a few birthdays, didn't we?
Yeah.
I'm actually talking about myself and Mac here.
2/3 of the room. Yes.
I was hoping you were going to go off on like a list of like other people that had birthdays besides just you or me.
Next year.
Next
So you
time.
won't
Yeah.
see it coming.
We'll get them next time.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
You guys ever like go online to try to find like who's the most famous person that like you share a birthday with? You ever
I
guys
feel
ever
like
do
I've
that?
done that before, but I
Yeah,
can't
I feel
remember
like
now.
I feel like once you do it once, why would you have to do it again?
Well, I mean, because other people become famous, so like maybe they also share a birthday with you. Like the one that always stuck with me was Usher.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's a Libra, huh?
He's a Libra, October 14th, 1976. So, you know, anytime we were at a wedding and somebody and they played "You Got It Bad." I think that's the title of the song.
Yeah,
Sure.
something like
And
that.
and then of course I go on the dance floor and I'm two shits to the wind at this point. And I had to go ahead and just kind of tell Steph, we share the same birthday.
I love
me
it.
and Usher. This is like my birthday song. And she's like,
It is not.
She's like, it's not.
That's not how that works.
It's not how that works. He's like, your birthday song is barely happy birthday, and you share that with a fucking everybody. That's fair. Yeah, that's
Wow.
fine.
True.
Yeah.
All right.
But she also got me this wonderful hooded sweatshirt.
So you didn't buy it for yourself?
No. You guys remember a couple episodes ago?
You seem surprised by that.
Yes, a little bit.
You know, a couple episodes ago, we were talking about like Mortal Kombat 1, and I'm like, I'm going to hold off until my birthday because maybe somebody will buy it for me.
Uh-huh.
That was what I was doing with the Nothing Good apparel, just the really long game.
I mean,
it
it
works
took
out
you like a
eventually.
year and a half,
Yeah.
but cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for showing up.
It's patience.
I just also want to point out that we both showed up with brand new Nothing Good hoodies at the exact same time. This was not coordinated, by the way.
It was not.
Yeah. It's weird.
It is.
Did you get yours for your birthday also?
No, I bought it for myself for my birthday. Yes.
So there you go.
Yeah, it was
So
my
it works
birthday
out
present to
then.
myself.
I took myself out to hibachi for my birthday.
There
That
you
was
go.
my gift to myself.
Nice.
Some chicken and shrimp, fried rice, double shrimp sauce.
Where'd you go?
Ichiban. Up
Sticky
in,
icky bon.
Get the sticky icky in a different way. Yeah, but
Yum yum sauce.
that's all over my face.
All day.
All over my face. But you know,
Nauseous from that.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
happy birthday, sir.
Happy birthday to you, Mac.
Happy birthday to both of
I'll
you
toast
fine
to that.
gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
It
sir.
is not my birthday,
Not at
but
all.
I'll drink anyways.
Yeah,
You got
better.
about 3 months until that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's nice to hit 41, to be close to 50 than I am to 30. It's nice to make peace with that, and then I'm getting one more step to the box.
I feel like every day I'm just one more step to the box.
We all are.
Yeah. So
That's how life works.
it is.
I'm just glad I'm here for another trip around the sun, and every year is theoretically better than the last. So hopefully that trend continues.
It's a good trend.
Try to real
Listen,
hard.
if you keep moving in that that upward curve,
Yes.
you're in good shape.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what was not in good shape?
This pay-per-view,
Woo! Before we get to that, what are you drinking, you motherfuckers? What are you guys drinking?
So Dave was kind enough to bring birthday beers
I did bring birthday beers.
that he bought for himself. And he's sharing with us. So we are drinking Southern Tier Warlock Imperial Pumpkin Stout.
Is it good?
It's very good.
It is very good.
It's very good.
And it's going to be very strong. And I got an afternoon with the in-laws today, so this is a good way to get
But
started.
drink another one.
Yeah.
That's why you
Well,
went hard.
and as typical,
Makes sense now.
with the way we do these Halloween Havoc shows, this will probably go a little long, which is why we're starting extra early for you motherfuckers out there in podcast land. Thank you very much. You're welcome.
They have
Go fuck
no idea
yourself.
what
They have
time it is.
absolutely no clue what time it is. No.
I'm telling them it's early. That's all they need to know. Early as shit, actually.
It's an hour earlier than even we would
It's
normally
like
typically
9
record
in the
for
morning.
early.
We're talking serious ass day drinking.
Yeah.
I'm not drinking one of those because I had brought beers for myself, but I will probably partake because this is going to go 3.5 hours anyhow.
I hope not.
Listen, it does every time. It goes over 2 hours.
That's Noah. Noah makes it go long.
We'll see.
So I have a thought about that, but I want Jones to finish his thought before I indulge in that one.
I'm drinking a New Belgium Cashmere IPA at a 7.5, so it's got a little heft to it. Not quite what you guys are drinking. Yours is like 8.6.
Yeah, it's pretty much stripping paint off the wall if it falls into the wrong hands.
But this is pretty tasty. I mean, I like New Belgium in general. I don't drink it often, but I had a few kind of laying around in the fridge, so I said,
Yep, their IPAs are
drink it.
very
Drink
good.
a little drink to drink.
There you go. You guys say that so for those of you who have joined us for previous editions of Halloween Havoc, the very first Halloween Havoc 1995, everybody, it's actually still being recorded.
It never ends.
It's been almost 2 years since Jones and Noah embarked on that journey.
Drunkily, might I add.
Drunkily.
It was a rough night.
That was
Because we'd recorded another episode, I think, prior, and was already drunk before we started that episode.
that was well before you guys had kind of really worked out the kinks on this whole thing.
It was like, let's just drink and talk shit.
And of course, you did it as the second one
For a
I
long
think,
time.
Yeah, weren't you guys recording till like 4:00 in the morning? on
That happened
one?
a couple of times. In the very beginning, we would set up and go, we're going to do 2 episodes. If we can pull off, we'll do 3. And we would sit down and we would drink really strong beer like fucking idiots and be in Noah's little basement studio for hours, just back and forth, back and forth. And at the end of the day, there were a couple times it was 3 in the morning and I'm fucking plastered. And I'm like, I gotta go home.
No.
Oh,
You were
God.
not going home.
I did. Listen, I don't drink and drive. But the problem with drinking and drinking too much, your logic center is like removed from your body. You're like, I can make it home. And I did every time, thankfully. But it's not smart. I don't do it anymore. Don't drink and drive,
Crash on the
kids.
couch or use an Uber.
That's
Yes,
right.
yes.
Be
Absolutely.
responsible.
Or find somebody's front yard and just fall into it.
Mm-hmm.
And let them wake up and your pants are down around your ankles and your butt's sticking up in the air and you don't know why. No?
That's a choice. Yes.
No? Was that too oddly specific?
Yeah, oh yeah. That
all right.
speaks from experience, I think.
Well, then truck nuts.
That's the second truck nuts for the day.
There's going to be a few more of those as we kind of go through this. I had some observations, man, on this show. But I had some observations on the show because, as we mentioned, when you go into a Halloween Havoc, everybody, time does not exist when you're watching a Halloween Havoc, even when you're talking about a Halloween Havoc. The very first time we recorded the Nothing Good podcast, because Jeff and I weren't actually a part of that. Could you imagine if we were a part of that recording the first time?
Still be recording.
They are still recording. Might just walk. An alternate version of Herb and Noah are still chained like Sisyphus pushing a stone to their fucking basement, just talking about this. And we could just go ahead and join in the conversation. And they're still on match number 3, but still forecasting the giveaway of the monster truck that's going to happen later on in the pay-per-view. And then the second Halloween Havoc, I think we only did 2. I think that was a 2-parter on that one.
The fact that somehow we figured out the first several episodes of the show were almost consistently 2-episode, like 2-parters.
Yeah, that's a long time to talk about one thing.
Like the fact that we've talked about Masters of the Universe for that long, I
4 hours.
I don't fucking understand how we did that. I'll never understand it.
No, but I discovered something very interesting in watching this pay-per-view. I was about 2.5, 3 hours into watching this pay-per-view. And then I checked the time on the playback, and I was only 1 hour and 16 minutes into this pay-per-view. I swear to fucking God.
It did seem like it was really slow.
I swear to fucking God, WCW found a way to create a temporal vortex that their viewership were sucked into once a month on pay-per-views, and nobody realized it. Nobody realized that Eric motherfucking Bischoff discovered time travel.
Yeah. And they were all fine and good with it until the pay-per-view feed cut out in the championship match, and they had to refund millions of dollars to viewers.
That's a whole fucking problem.
That fucking happened?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
They replayed it the next day.
Yeah, on Nitro.
And
that was actually one of the only decent matches of the night.
Let me tell you something.
Holy shit.
And we're going to get to it, but there were 2 matches on this entire card that felt like it was pay-per-view worthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was it. Okay, so behind the curtain, so before we start recording, we're kind of talking and bullshitting a little bit, and Jeff offhandedly says something to the effect of, and I'm paraphrasing, it's like watching a Nitro, basically. And
it's a Halloween episode of Nitro.
Yeah, there you go. Yep. And it's funny, the very last thing I typed up in my notes at the very bottom was, with the exception of 2 matches, this was Nitro. It felt like Nitro.
Yeah, it just felt like a regular Monday night show.
It felt like a slightly more special Nitro.
Yeah, it seemed like the stakes weren't high. I mean, obviously the set design was there to tell you that it was a Halloween Havoc, but it seemed like there wasn't any sort of gravity to anything that really happened on the show. I mean, they hyped the shit out of a handful of things that we're going to talk about that just did not deliver.
And I think there's a couple of reasons why this show felt the way it did. And as usually, I would wait till the end of the show to talk about this, but I'm going to put the context out now. So, historically, if any of you the 6 of you who listen to our wrestling episodes, thank you, by the way.
We really do appreciate the 6 of you that tune in.
Technically, it's more than 6, but not much more. But
it's crazy that our most engaging topic that we pretty much have, for movies, we either will have a similar approach to watching the film, or with Monster Squad, one of us is right and 2 of us are wrong.
Okay.
But
fuck your Dracula opinion.
Available in the archives from last week.
Available in the archives. Just fucking go back. Just go back one, and you'll come across that one. But shit, that threw me off now because
it was so long ago you can't remember.
It was that's what Halloween Havoc.
That's what
Halloween Havoc does.
The approach to topics.
Yeah. No, completely lost it.
Okay, so
Halloween Havoc. 1998.
I was trying to get you back to us, man.
The 10th annual Halloween Havoc took place October 25th, 1998, live from the MGM Grand Arena in Las Vegas.
Yes. So the point I was making, this might jog you, what I was trying to say is that historically, back in the day during the Monday Night Wars especially, WCW, Eric Bischoff and company would be slightly criticized, or highly criticized, better yet, for giving away pay-per-view quality matches on live TV, free TV. which the WWF, at least back then, didn't do a whole lot. If you want to see like the big match, you had to pay for the pay-per-view or come to the show. But at the end of the day, WWF, excuse me, the World Wrestling Federation was a wrestling promotion. It was a wrestling company first before anything else. It's a little different now, but it's still, at the end of the day, a wrestling company. WCW was a television company. It was not a wrestling promotion. So they approached things so differently. That's why you had, and I feel we all remember, Luger beating Hollywood Hogan on Nitro for the heavyweight title. And I still mark out, if it comes up on my YouTube feed, I will stop and watch the last minute and a half of that match because that shit was fucking fire. That was great. Or Goldberg beating Hollywood Hogan on Nitro. That should have been on a pay-per-view.
That's insane.
So I think...
Yeah, you are going to see Roman Reigns lose a title on SmackDown.
Jeff, you're not going to see Roman Reigns lose a title ever.
You might be right.
He might die with that shit.
He's gonna fucking die with that shit. They're tattooing it on him as we speak. It's a part of his tribal. It's a part of his tribal thing.
Actually, probably is technically a part of his tribal tattoos by now.
Yeah.
But I think, and I was thinking about that last night, that maybe that's why this felt like a Nitro, because Nitros kind of had that feel sometimes. And I don't know. Am I off the mark on that?
No, and it's weird because like there's so many promos in this fucking pay-per-view where it's like promo, match, promo, promo. And it's like they're talking to the guys who are on the internet guys on the back, which is stupid. You hear them
clacking their keys.
I'm like, what is happening? And like, if you go back to the episode we did a month or two ago about the first episode of Nitro, the first live episode that they did, that something they kept saying is, this is live. You can expect anything can happen. And I think Shivani and Tenay said that like 5 times during this pay-per-view. Like, we're at Halloween Havoc. Anything can happen. We're live. So expect the unexpected. Well, and I'm like, this feels all so familiar for a Monday night show.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said about just what Shivani and company I felt were doing, because I feel like anytime that the card got really fucking slow, they had to really jump in and remind everybody, no, this is awesome. This is great.
I mean, that's their job,
You're
right?
seeing things. But I mean, it felt, so blatantly obvious.
Yes.
At certain points here, they realized that like half the matches that were going on in this pay-per-view were total shit. And I've got some great comments about some of these matches as we talk about them. But yeah, it definitely felt that way. And just it was a 3 hour and 16 minute
It's such a long pay-per-view.
It was a 3 hour and 16 minute, the longest Halloween Havoc of all of the Halloween Havocs was this one. Yeah, most of them came in under about 3 hours. This one came in at 3 hours and 16 minutes by the time that they shut the camera off and rolled the credits, right?
Yeah, because WCW is going to WCW, and they're terrible at time management.
Oh, yeah. But this is what's great about it. Of that 3 hour and 16 minutes talking about the promos, right? There was maybe an hour and 30 minutes
of
actual matches. And there's not a single match on this card that was over 20 minutes.
Yep, they're all 15 and under.
15 and under, right.
Which is wild.
And until you get to the last 4 matches, none of them are over 10 minutes.
It felt like Nitro.
And I'm watching this and I'm like, I'm getting punked. Like something is definitely wrong here, because I'm doing the math in my head. And I'm 6 matches in. And I'm an hour and 20 minutes into viewing this Nitro. You see, now you got me fucking doing it. Viewing this Halloween Havoc, and I'm like, how the fuck are they going to fill 2.5 hours? This, ladies and gentlemen, is where I go back to Eric Bischoff created time travel, because no fucking way an astrophysicist can watch this and it makes any goddamn sense.
Yeah, there was there's a lot of me pausing to look at how much time I had left. I had like the Wikipedia, like the matches set up. I'm like, that many left, huh?
Yeah, I definitely did that a few times.
Yeah. Neil deGrasse Tyson, if you guys need to figure out how to like break into the 4th dimension, this is it. Watch this 4 times and you're either going to be 20 or 80.
So, interesting perspective, as always, Mac. Little extra little layer to the show. I didn't know this until the last couple of years of it. I listened to the Eric Bischoff podcast on occasion, 83 Weeks, which is really, really interesting. He talks about a lot of just WCW, obviously, a lot of TNA stuff, but mostly WCW. So I don't know about you guys, but I was always, as a kid, under the impression that Starrcade was the WrestleMania for WCW every year, because it's Starrcade.
Same.
Yeah.
I believe it was a Dusty Rhodes creation, which is kind of cool too. No, Halloween Havoc was for Eric Bischoff, and he was the executive vice president of WCW. He was the president of WCW, so it was the WrestleMania for WCW. You could have fucking fooled me with this show.
Like that. Yeah.
Well, so if you just take a 10,000-foot view of this card, and you look at the card,
it's not bad stacked, actually.
It's a stacked
it
fucking
looks good
card,
on paper.
Right? It does look good on paper. I mean, you have, just to name a few, right? You've got Chris Jericho versus Raven.
Yes.
Right? Some up-and-comers. You have Disco Inferno running the gauntlet to try to win the Cruiserweight Championship, which, I always think that, for big pay-per-view, you could have multiple matches to, like, build up to something. I think King of the Ring and stuff like that. I'm going to not talk about Fit Finley and Alex Wright at this stage, really, or Saturn and Lodi, or, well, shit, we'll skip a lot of it. But, you had the whole Steiner Brothers thing. You had Nash versus fucking Hall.
Yeah.
You had, Jesus Christ, Bret the Hitman Hart versus Sting. Just to name a few.
Yeah.
These aren't even
Those aren't even the main events.
They're not even the main events.
Yeah.
It's a strong top of the bottom of the card.
You look at this card and you're like, you know what? This feels like it's a big deal. And it feels like it really should be a big deal. Price is Right, Loser, Horn Later. Not so much.
Yeah, so I agree. It's a really fascinating watch because I literally, like you said, like you look at this card, because I couldn't remember exactly all the matches, and I went through and I'm looking like, oh man, like just from like a macro view, this shit's gonna be a banger of a fucking show. And it's not even like any of the latter half matches. None of them were, well, except for one, none of them were bad.
None of them were great either.
I maintain the main event was actually really, really good for who was in it. I maintain that was one of Goldberg's best matches he's had.
Yeah, that was
and that was, I won't say it was all DDP, but like it was probably mostly DDP.
That was a solid match.
Yes, for a main event, that was actually match of the year. I think that was match of the year for PWI, no, or maybe it was the WCW magazine. One of the two. Match of the year, but still, there was a lot of good matches in WCW over the course of a year.
Yeah, just most of them were on Monday night.
Yes, or on Thursday,
or on Saturday.
Mostly Thursday and
Mostly
Monday.
Thursday and sometimes Monday.
Yeah. Back in the day.
Not usually on the pay-per-views.
No.
They usually fuck that up.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it, right? So the intro to the show is fantastic. It's very WCW, brings me back. And I say it every single time. Every pay-per-view we do where Heenan's on it, God damn it, I miss the brain so much. It makes me hurt a little bit. Because I don't get to hear his commentary live, ever again.
Yeah.
But he's so, even now, or then, in WCW, where he was checked out and drunk most of the time, he's still fucking good.
Yeah, he's great.
Like, his little fucking quips, little things he just says are so fantastic. But more importantly than the brain, the fucking Nitro Girls. Because it's not Nitro enough, you need the Nitro Girls.
They opened with the Nitro
They
Girls.
did open with the Nitro
Wasting
Girls.
fucking time.
And then they show up like 5 other times throughout the night.
Which I didn't realize.
And Heenan's just like drooling over it.
So, who's your favorite Nitro Girl? Everybody had one.
I couldn't name one, honestly.
Tigress was mine.
Which one's Tigress?
Vanessa Sanchez.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
She's like, not red hair, but sometimes it would be a little reddish. I'm not sure what her nationality was. Obviously, it's Sanchez. So, she's just goddamn hot. Personally, she was my favorite. Always my favorite. I don't know how long she was actually in the Nitro Girls, but I hadn't seen them in years. So I looked. I'm like, Tigress is right there. It's been a while.
That's my girl right there.
That's right.
It's so funny, Jones, because like I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I know somebody is going to ask me who's my favorite Nitro Girl. I just knew it.
Which is
I was like,
everybody has a favorite.
But I'm like, do I need to?
I'm surprised it's just not Stacy Keibler.
Was she a Nitro Girl?
Yes.
Oh shit.
Towards the end.
Well, it's kind of interesting because like I forgot because this is what our at least seventh or eighth time really covering WCW
Something
on
like
the
that.
podcast.
Sure.
I'd say give or take, right? And this is the first time in any of those things we've covered that the Nitro Girls are actually present.
Yes. That is not a Nitro, apparently.
No. I can't remember.
Girls.
I can't remember her name, but I'll go ahead and just point her out. Maybe you can help me out here, Jones.
This blonde one?
Yeah, the blonde
I
one
have
with
no
the
idea
short
which
hair.
one that
Yeah, I
is.
can't remember
That
her
one
name.
there
Yeah,
is Tigress.
right. Of course it is. She's in the middle.
But yeah, and of course everybody like Kimberly Page. She was a very beautiful woman. Don't get me wrong, but Tigress was it. A young Queen Charmel, I was all about too. Actually, I was.
Respect.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, the Nitro Girls not only opened the show, but they basically, carried the show.
They were the intermission
They were the intermission.
multiple times.
Which is funny because in like today's day and age, between matches, number one, they give you a break between matches. WCW didn't really like to do that in Halloween Havoc. WCW just like, oh, this match is over. These wrestlers are still leaving the ring. Fuck it. Let's just go ahead and start the next match. Or, we'll just have some inexcusable promo for no apparent reason. Or the Nitro Girls, but no video package.
There was in the beginning.
There wasn't. Yeah, but WWE has a video package before every single match, just in case you're just decided that for your.
It's part of their storytelling model.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're talking 1998, and in WWF 1998, I think they were doing the video packages, but not the way they'd be doing it in a year and a half, 2 years.
No, I was watching SmackDown for a little bit on Friday night, and they had a video package that basically made me think I was watching fucking Killers of the Flower Moon.
They had a video package for the guy who makes a video package.
They did, and it was fucking epic. Just him in the editing studio, just clicking away, different angles. Something faded. He got hit with a chair.
That's right. So we start the show with a WCW Nitro moment because there's a random promo at the top of the ramp at the entryway, which made almost entirely no sense because it instantly took me out of the pay-per-view feel.
The first 10 minutes was all promos, which didn't feel like a pay-per-view way to start a show at all.
Here's the dog-faced gremlin who I got nothing but love for, man. Rick Steiner's the dude. Which I'm going to get to why he might... I have a question to pose, but I'm going to wait.
Does it have anything to do with the hood ornaments on his shoulders?
No.
Okay.
No. Those are just bony growths.
Bony
Yeah,
growth.
I said it.
It's a good thing he adopted a pit bull personality because because with those bony growths, if if it went a different direction, like he just really liked unicorns, probably was going to fit.
Yeah, probably not.
No.
Maybe, but I forgot how over Rick Steiner was. Because, I remember being a kid and, the Steiner Brothers would come out and you go, woo! You just get fired up. It was never Scott. It was always Rick. Rick was the personality. He'd grow on all fours and just, start barking and snarling at the opponent.
But Scott's good at math.
So he thinks. I want to just bring out that Bagwell comes out, and I'm like, I remember this storyline. Oh, it all comes together.
Yeah.
But more
It was
than
when
that,
he was on the outs with the NWO.
this motherfucker had a FUBU shirt on.
He did.
I have not seen a FUBU logo. I don't know when the fucking last time I saw that, and it brought me back. Way back to middle school.
There was quite a bit of FUBU popping up all around this pay-per-view. I saw that Nash had some FUBU
and it's
gear
interesting
on, too.
because the commentators also kept talking about how much money they all make, how much money
could
the
fool me.
wrestlers make, and they're like, "We can afford FUBU now."
I can wear those
Yes,
$32 FUBU shirts.
That's right.
So let's get to the match, man. The first match, which was a good opening match for a Nitro.
But there's still about 7 minutes of promos before the match
So there was-
started.
There was a Steiner promo, and then Raven did a promo because the flock had recently broken
Yes.
up, and he was on a losing streak, and he didn't want to do it anymore. And Jericho's like, I don't really want to do it either.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah, and Raven's like, okay, cool, I'm gonna leave. I didn't know I was gonna have this match, so I'm not properly prepared. So I'm going to go leave now. And Jericho's like, okay, go ahead and leave.
Pussing. Basically what he did.
Yeah. but like they basically had to have like, again, being in the WWE model as I feel like I am, I'm indoctrinated at this point. If we go back and watch a WWF pay-per-view, you're going to get some vignette that's going to let you know what's led up to this. In case you haven't been tuning in and you're just sitting down for the first time, like, okay, how did we get here? We don't know. And I feel like at the beginning of this match, Jericho and Raven also did not know how we got there.
They needed a video package
They needed a video package.
They're waiting for it. They're like, we can't do this. We don't know what's really happening.
And they could have had all sorts of extra video packages had it not been for the intermission Nitro girls.
I thought you were going to say because if it had not been for the gigantic inflatable gargoyle holding a giant inflatable pumpkin.
That's how you knew it was Halloween.
That's how you knew it was Halloween, because I didn't know it was Halloween.
And the Tombstone Jumbotron that used like the shittiest generic font for all their names.
It's so much of it was so odd.
It looked like a video game like background.
It did.
It did.
Look, Raven is still one of my favorite gimmicks of all time.
I agree.
And it's unfortunate that WCW didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Like, there could have been, I know I love gang warfare in wrestling. It's some of my favorite stuff from the early Attitude days, with the Nation and the Disciples and Los Boricuas and DX and the Heart Foundation all at the same fucking time. Like, that's a lot of gang warfare action, right? But it would have been really cool to see a slightly more refined version of the Flock, battling against some version of the NWO, red or black, doesn't really matter. Like, there could have been something to it, except for Lodi. Fuck Lodi.
I can't wait till we talk about that.
Yeah, so
I was like, who is Lodi?
I remember
was like,
Lodi.
oh yeah,
he's fucking useless. But Raven was such a good gimmick, and in ECW, like, it was so perfect. But it was Paul Heyman's creation and Scott Levy's creation, and Kevin Sullivan and Eric Bischoff and the creative committee in WCW, the creative staff, did not know what to do with something that was not their creation.
And I think that goes to say a lot about a lot of things with ECW when you tried to move those gimmicks over to the other promotions with other writers that Paul Heyman was not necessarily a part of. Because, there are guys in ECW that if you went into the ballroom, they were so fucking over, it was insane.
Oh, yeah.
And then, you're waiting for that same kind of energy when they get into WCW or WWF. And for a lot of guys, it just wasn't there.
No.
Yeah, and in the WCW world, like, and you see it through and through, particularly in this show, like, they're so attached to the egos around a specific cast of characters. The rest is just, even though they're great wrestlers, the rest is just mid-card filler.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, Hogan, oh, NWO. And it was WCW and NWO Halloween Havoc. It was
I forgot about that.
WCW NWO Presents.
It was so
and
strange.
I was like, that's just a faction. That's not an actual promotion.
The executive president he was a member of. So technically, it is NWO, right? Yeah. That's how you could justify it.
Yeah.
That was actually the first note that I put in about this. Is I wrote Halloween Havoc 1998, MGM Grand Las Vegas, WCW NWO Presents. And I forgot about that. When Jones was talking about gang warfare, was a part of you kind of hoping he was going to say the gangbang? I really enjoyed the gangbang back in the day. I was kind of hoping.
No. Is that how you ended up ass up in the yard?
I was going to say.
Probably.
With your tough showing.
Just wait. Just wait. I've got at least 3 Tuft comments coming up here as we analyze this pay-per-view, because that's the only way I could get through some of these matches.
Yeah. But this opening match, it was a good start.
Yeah, it was fine. It was very good.
It was a decent match. Jericho came in hot.
I forgot that Raven
his
could
music
go.
still slaps.
Yeah.
As soon as you hear
Does
Break the
it
Walls
though?
Down.
Because that's not the music he came out to, and that's a whole other fucking thing with the show. And I get why they can't do it.
I made a note.
I'm so irritated.
I was like, wait, I don't know why I'm hearing The Walls.
I wanted to hear the OG, like, heel Jericho WCW music. I missed that song. That is my favorite entrance song he's ever had.
No, why can't they do that?
Rights, I guess.
Who owns the rights?
Not WWF.
That's
not
interesting.
Vince. That's why you don't. Because I don't know. Some of the WCW music was done by Jimmy Hart A lot of it actually was done by Jimmy Hart. A lot of WWF music, old OG 80s music, was done by Jimmy Hart. Interestingly enough, like the Hart Foundation music was Jimmy Hart. Fun fact. But I don't know who owns what, but obviously WWE doesn't own the rights to those songs.
Yeah.
So wait, because I haven't really done this, but if I have to go back and watch like any of CM Punk's title run, does the Cult of Personality just not come up?
No, it should.
Should it?
It should.
But WWF doesn't own that.
I think they have the rights. Like I think they have the like the ability to play that music. But here's the thing, though. I think it's like over a certain amount of time. Like I think there's like the rights
In yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't know,
There are
maybe right
options and
now,
things like that.
but in 20 years, maybe not. Maybe we'll hear that this fire burns instead,
God
you know?
damn it. You know, so first sidebar of the podcast here.
It only took 33 minutes.
We're doing pretty good here. 33 minutes talking about a pay-per-view, and we're not even through
We
match one
haven't
yet.
really talked about the first match that much.
No. But recently in the news, I read that Walmart, Target, Best Buy, starting next year, are doing away with selling physical media. They're going to get rid of DVDs, and they're going to stop selling DVDs and Blu-rays. And Walmart is even going to stop selling, at least, I don't know why it's just specifically Xbox, but they're going to stop selling Xbox games in physical media. And, you know, I'm ancient. I've never really, we've had conversations about this and a lot of other different mediums off air, but I like having physical media. I like owning the copy of the thing that I have.
We know, Dave.
I know.
You do.
I do. I really
Do you own a copy of this VHS that has Hogan choking Ultimate Warrior with his belt on it?
No. I do, but it's a different type of a different type of VHS. You know, one that like I had to hide from my parents.
Gotcha.
But, you know.
Still has Hogan choking
It
someone
still
with his
has
belt.
it still has Hogan choking somebody with his belt. Yeah, and
Ass
other
up,
things,
toughed out.
other things being choked too. We'll just leave it at that. Disco Inferno impregnates half of Vegas. You know, there's a lot going on there. But I'm always a proponent of people actually owning the thing that you're listening to, you're watching, you're playing, because you can't change it. Like if you own it, you can't change it. If there's a copy of it that exists in the world, you can't go back after the fact and alter. You can't take out a joke that somebody thinks is offensive. You know, things exist as they're supposed to. So people can, you know, if it's something bad, you can learn from it. If it's an heir, who gives a shit? Oh my God, Daenerys has a fucking Starbucks cup on the table in Game of Thrones. Well, it's there. You know, it's a goof. We're going to see that. You know, you can't take it out. You can't change it. It is what it is. And for better or for worse. And as we move away from that, I get very concerned about what things are going to look like, you know, that we've grown up with 10,
Right.
20, 30. You know, we've done a lot of 80s things that have a lot of very offensive things that people said at that point in time, right? We always talk about it. We always talk about when they, you know, use, you know, homophobic slurs, or if they use inappropriate racial jokes or things like that. But, you know, it also exists as a lesson of what not to do. And when you keep taking things out, you change history. And that's why I don't like the fact that they do that. And this is just kind of another example of that. I understand why they have to do it and all that other kind of bullshit. But, you know, I hate thinking that it's like, I don't remember Chris Jericho coming out to the walls
Because he sure
in
shit
WCW. I thought that was absolutely a WWF thing. Oh, wait, it's because it was.
Yes, it was.
So, anyways.
Yeah, and it's interesting at certain points. You can tell when it happens because the audio levels on the commentary changes drastically.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that sounds a little off
I can deal
for a pay-per-view
with
production.
most of the changes, like, oh, you know, that guy, they don't have rights. But the one, and every time it happens, it just makes me a little sad, is DDP, because that song, the Self High Five, and here's the thing, it wouldn't even bug me as much as if they replaced it with something that sounded kind of good.
Yeah.
They just replaced it with some background music number 7.
Yeah.
Like, it's bull, man. I don't like it.
It's the preset song on the keyboard that you got when you were a kid.
Yeah, it's that Casio preset. It's just not good. Like, anyhow.
Yeah.
Good sidebar. That only lasted 4 minutes.
That's good for me.
Yeah.
It was.
Way to
Yeah.
bring it back.
But
Thanks.
yeah, so yeah, the match was solid. Like I said, I kind of I forget that Raven could fucking go, because I haven't watched Raven wrestle in, like, you know, damn near 15 plus years. But what killed me about this match was, I get that they're trying to tell a story about Raven having this losing streak. I don't think they even went anywhere with it, honestly. I don't think they did. The fact that Jericho kicked out of the even flow bugged me so badly. Just don't even hit him with it. Like, first of all, can we appreciate how awesome a name for a DDT the even fucking flow is?
Yeah, and that he looks like he's out of a fucking Pearl Jam.
Yeah, I love it.
What the hell is a Pearl Jam?
Oh, God damn it. For those of you, that shit is not in the fucking archives, by the way.
Just computers, Dad.
If you know, you know.
And if you don't, you probably never
really
will.
are better off.
One day,
not
I
knowing.
hope we can remaster that and just release it back to the world.
Yeah, no, I think
no
we're
one needs
good
to see
without
that
that.
shit. That was not good.
There are 2 or 3 jokes in there. Why? Don't you guys want to watch me breaking Noah's foot? We have that we have that recorded. I have Noah doing a stunt and he gets his foot stuck in a door and ends up breaking a toe.
So, no, I don't want to watch it ever again.
Yeah, we're good.
I've watched that enough times, all 4, that I don't need to watch it ever again. I'm proud of what we've done creatively on a lot of different things. That movie, I don't remember what the fucking name was, is not one of them.
The Necromancer.
God damn it. Yeah. Now I remember.
Yeah.
But anyhow.
Not available in the archives.
And it never will be.
If you can fucking find that,
We'll put that with
credit to you.
Well, that's in the same like little drawer with the infamous Drew episode. Ain't no one gonna hear it or see it.
We did the great episode we did talking about Top Gun that nobody's ever gonna fucking hear. There's so much beach volleyball that we talked about
that no one's ever gonna hear. Thank
nobody's
God for that.
ever gonna hear it.
So this leads me to a question about this match as we move away from this match, because we've been talking about it for far too long. Is the fact that I was so like kind of offended that Jericho kicked out of a DDT, number one. What moves should not be kicked out of outside of obvious the DDT? And we'll take the obvious ones off the table. DDT off the table. Pedigree off the table. Pile driver off the table. Pick your brains a little bit. What do you
It's
think?
interesting because like a pile driver doesn't even feel, and I know it's banned in a lot of ways, but like it doesn't feel like a finisher. It's just a move.
Depends on
that
how you
can
do
break
the
your
pile
neck.
driver.
Well, it also depends on how you do the pedigree. Because
Well, I mean,
there's
wrestling's real.
Yeah.
What move should you not kick out of? Let me do it that way. That's why I say like pile driver, obviously, because you're dropping someone directly on top of their head. If wrestling was real, right?
Without really properly thinking about this and giving a really good educated answer to it, I'm just gonna say fucking Goldberg's spear. Because legitimately, you should be fucking out of you should not be able to catch your breath for 3 seconds, and he's gonna put your ass down, like that. And not Roman Reigns' spear, not Edge's spear, because like even if you just watch this pay-per-view, when Goldberg hits the spear on DDP in the final match, I felt like part of DDP's soul was leaving him. Like that's how
speared the hell
he
out of him.
speared the shit out
He
of him.
got all of that.
And if wrestling's real and you're really doing the moves and you're putting the things into it that you normally would, yeah, that should at least knock the wind out of you to not kick out. I'm always a proponent, Jones, and this is one of the things about wrestling that I've never been a huge fan of, that I think 99.8% of the time nobody should ever kick out of a finishing move. It doesn't matter what move it is or who does it, because that's the whole point of a finishing move. If somebody gets it, you're out. Like that's it. If they connect with the move and you're caught with it, you're done. You're down. The match is over. Except for that one WrestleMania or that one Starrcade, or in this case, that one Halloween Havoc, where for the first time, last time, and only time, somebody kicks out. Because we're in a day and age too where too many people kick out of their finishing moves.
Yeah. The finishing move doesn't carry the same weight that it used to because so many people kick out of all of it.
Well, I was watching something online with Shawn Michaels just recently, and they were talking about super kicks. And I think it was a thing with it was Shawn Michaels, I think it was Triple H, and I can't remember who the other guy was that was doing the interview or anything, but they were talking about how, they're like, Shawn, how do you feel now that your finishing move is basically like a middle of the match move for almost everybody now? Like the super kick,
Everybody.
you would use the super kick and just put somebody to sleep. And there's one that wouldn't do it, like CM Punk's go to sleep. That was a shit move. But he's like, how do you feel about that? Like, your finisher is now just
Yeah. The Usos do it every opportunity. they get.
exactly. And it diminishes what, and of course, you would say that finishing moves would evolve over time, and like maybe something that's a finishing move in the 80s, like a Hogan leg drop or a Macho's elbow or anything like that, would not necessarily be a finishing move today. You can make a probably very well-sounding, educated conversation about that. This isn't that podcast, as you can tell by my rambling at this stage. But yeah, I don't like that people kick out of finishing moves. It should be one wrestler kicks out of somebody's finishing move one time for a very specific reason to tell a story, and that would mean something. Everybody who sees somebody kick out, like you said, because afterwards, how many people are going to kick out of it?
Yeah, like a DDT in my mind, and it just like it's something that like I thought about, and I'm not the only person obviously who thinks this way. A lot of wrestling fans think this way. A lot of purists think this way, that like a DDT is a finishing move. Period. It is not a thing you do to transition to a resting spot or a false finish. It is you are dropping a human being directly on their head with your body weight and their body weight combined. They should be out.
Yeah, your brain doesn't recover quickly from that.
But we're in a world where DDTs are just like a forearm to the chin.
Yeah.
And it bothered when I saw it, but it was not even so much that it was just like, it wasn't a transition move. It was his fucking finishing move. And Chris Jericho, my opinions on him aside, great wrestler, should not have kicked out of the fucking even flow DDT from the former ECW World Heavyweight Champion.
From fucking Eddie Vedder.
I think he was heavyweight champion ECW. Maybe he wasn't. My point stands. Anyhow, good match. It was fun. It was solid
start of the
solid
match.
Opener for Nitro.
One of the things as a Chris Jericho, as a Jerichoholic as I am, how fucking great was it just to see the Lion Tamer in its purest form, where it's not just a glorified fucking Boston Crab because nobody knows how to take it, where it's the real Lion Tamer.
Yeah,
where you got the guy kind of bent up on his neck.
Yeah.
His
back's twisted just the right way.
Twisted just enough. Like to me, that's what the fucking Lion Tamer is.
It's been so long since I've seen a young Jericho. I forgot how young he was back then. Like he's hit such a baby face then.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Youngin.
It's interesting you say that because as I was going through this pay-per-view and checking the cards and everything, I was doing a lot of reverse math on a lot of these wrestlers to kind of find out like the median age of what a lot of these guys were. And it's kind of funny that most of them were about our age now.
A good chunk of the latter half of them, yeah.
Especially the back half of this card. I mean, everybody was pretty much in their late 30s, early 40s. I do not look
like
at
us,
any of these people.
That's right.
In a world, going back to the intro, in a world where 50% of our population has to constantly judge themselves against what they feel has been embedded into them as a sociological norm of appearance. And guys don't usually have to do that. I definitely did that a little bit on this one and be like, no, I don't look like, I might look a little bit like
Ming?
Rick Stein. Well,
you say Ming? Jesus.
Fuck, I wish I looked
I wouldn't mind looking like Ming. He's a badass.
Maybe a little more like Rick Steiner and at least the gut area.
God. Man, the Steiners are scary strong, Dave. Are you scary strong?
I can't wait. I have so many comments once we get to the Steiners too.
Okay, well, good.
Jesus.
Well,
Christ.
let's start
keep
making
going.
our way there.
Let's skim past this
So,
Hogan Eric Bischoff promo, which was a good promo from Hogan. Actually,
There's a Hogan Bischoff promo, which was pretty decent.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what you would expect from, a heel Hogan and Bischoff promo.
It's weird that they kissed.
If the people who didn't watch the show and just heard that, they have no context to like why you said that. It's actually really funny to me.
I said it the way I said it for a very specific reason because now you got to go back and fucking watch that shit.
Watch the show.
Watch the show.
Horace fucking Hogan. Then, now, and forever, no one gave a shit. No one gives a shit. No one will ever give a shit.
I was like, who's Horace Hogan?
I remember Horace Hogan.
I was like, oh yeah.
He wasn't impressive then. I'm sure he's still not
You thought
impressive.
to yourself, did Jones say Hulk? I can't even fucking say
Horace.
it. Did he say Hulk Hogan wrong? There's too many H's. Too much alliteration in that fucking family.
Hogan.
Yeah.
Horace Hogan.
How dare you have that
Kicked
much
out of
alliteration
the
in
I
your
hope that
family?
wasn't his actual... I hope his name wasn't actually Horace. There's no way it was.
There's no way you grow up being Horace Hogan and not just get the shit beat out of you.
Well, first of all,
every day in the
it would be
playground.
Horace Balea, and which is even worse, actually. But I hope it just was. I hope no one's name is Horse that it lives today.
Could you imagine like the Balea parents being like, oh yeah, I'm gonna name my first child after a Marvel comic book character, and the second child's gonna be named after an Egyptian god.
Well, that was his nephew, but same difference.
Well, yeah.
No, I can't imagine that. And it was his nephew from his dead brother.
Yeah.
Which made the beatdown even worse. So let's talk about Wrath and Ming. So I'm not going to talk. This match was 4 minutes and 23 seconds long. I'm not going to talk a lot about it because I always enjoy Ming matches. Not because Ming matches are fantastic, because it's fucking Ming. It's Haku.
Ming.
It's King Haku. And the fact that this man, every time he's on a show we talk about, I'm just in awe of how much no one fucks with this guy.
Yeah,
because he will
he's scary.
fucking murder
Yeah.
you. He's scary. He's gripped people by their fucking lower mandibles and cracked teeth out with his bare fucking hands. Do you know what kind of fucking strength you have to have with your grip to do that to a person?
No,
I don't. He's popped eyeballs out of the sockets at airports. Do you understand what that means?
Yes.
Motherfuckers go to prison for that.
Not Ming.
He went to the Gold Corral afterwards.
He went hard on that buffet.
It was $4.99 at the time.
I want to make one. Okay, so everybody who listens to the show, if you're a wrestling fan, you've heard a Ming story or two. Please go out of your way to look up Ming stories. Every wrestler, if you just YouTube it, has Ming stories, and they can't be exaggerared because they're always like the same. Like he almost murdered the guy. like
It's real casual too.
there is only one real thing I want to say. Two things about this match. One, three things. Much like the DDT, Ming should never be kicked out of, ever.
Right.
And if matter of fact, if I were a professional wrestler, Ming would be my finisher.
Just Ming. it's literally like Mortal Kombat 1, where Ming just tags in out of nowhere.
People pull up brass knucks out of their tights. I'd pull a miniature Ming out of my tights and just throw him at somebody.
Just
He'd
let
do
him
a
do his
Tonga
thing.
death grip.
Yeah.
Flying Tonga death grip. Yes.
Jesus
I'd be undefeated.
Christ.
It's hardcore. I like it.
Two, Wrath, Adam Bomb. He really looks like the wrestling action figure who like you got from like Walmart. It's like the FCW or C77WF. Like there's no actual federation. It's like a generic.
Yeah,
but
Wrath is the atom bomb you have at home.
Listen.
Oh, I like it.
Listen. They're not selling that shit at Walmart. Walmart has standards. This is the
dollar store.
This is the gift that your aunt picked up at the
At the flea market.
at Rite Aid on her way to the house.
There's always that aunt who just well, hey, you like this, right? You like wrestling, don't you?
This is what guys boys
She
like.
doesn't know anything about it. She just sees that there's a wrestling action figure in the back of the fucking pharmacy. And she just like, oh, I'll just get him this. He likes wrestling.
Yeah.
My last observation about this match, and I kept noticing it, and I could not look away from it once I saw it. Throughout the entire thing, the whole 4 minutes, and if it was a long 4 minutes, Wrath is being very gingerly with Ming. He's being very careful with him. And do you know why?
Wasn't he?
You don't take liberties with Ming.
No.
Because you take liberties with Ming, you forfeit your life.
I mean, Ming did bite him in the match.
There were this was the second match of the night that involved biting.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of
There was because Jericho
breath bumps.
Jericho got bit by Raven in the first match.
But just regular biting, no nipple chewing.
This was the 90s after all. We moved past nipple chewing. at
Nipple
that
chewing
point.
was an 80s bit.
No, and everything. It's funny that you mentioned that, Jones, because I had a similar thought watching this. Every match that you watch in this pay-per-view and probably any match you watch in wrestling, you would believe that wrestling is not real. Unless you watch somebody wrestling Ming.
They're wrestling for their lives.
Because it's never fake.
It's always real to Ming.
It's always real to Ming. And you just know that there's the possibility that you could fuck up just enough that you realize that you're fighting for your life. You're fighting for real. And they're going to have...
It's fight or flight at that point.
and they're going to have the dump button. Somebody in the back in the fucking video truck has the dump button ready to go in case Ming snaps.
Like, I'm watching him like, I feel like Ming's being a little snug with him, but he wrestles snug. That's what he does. But Wrath is not. He's being very careful with him. And I'm like, I guess I would be too. I ain't trying to get my teeth ripped out of my fucking lower jaw with one hand.
Yeah.
Who does that? Ming does.
Ming does.
Yeah, because Ming learned. Ming is not actually from wherever you think Ming's from. Ming is actually from that place in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom where they teach you to pull somebody's still beating heart out of their chest, like for real. That's where Ming's from.
So what you're saying, he's actually from parts unknown?
Yes.
Okay.
This match to me felt like missionary position.
I would like for you to elaborate on that, Dave.
Do I have to? Can I just
because there are visuals here, and I need you to fix them.
It felt like at the end of this match they couldn't cut away fast enough because it was just so vanilla and it was so plain.
My God.
And the entire purpose is that you've got Wrath, who looks like somebody you would think could be a potential superstar someday. If you drop Wrath into WWE today, he probably looks better than 2/3 of your roster. So, you could use this. I mean, Wrath was going to win because you're trying to build a guy like this. You're trying to move him forward a little bit. But like this match just felt like missionary position, just like they were just laying on their back and going through the motions. And, it was missionary position and then missionary position. And then that position when I'm on top and she's on the bottom. Like, it just felt very much like going through the motions and very, and it took 4 minutes, which,
that is
on
probably
a
the
good
most
day.
I've heard you say missionary position within like a concentrated amount of time that I'll ever hear ever again, and I'm happy that that's as
I was going to say, how does that make you feel? A little uncomfortable?
a little. But you expanded on it, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, way to paint the visual.
My only regret is I didn't make stronger eye contact with you, Jones, as I was saying it.
I'm glad you didn't. So
So just like that, is it weak finish?
yeah, a weak finish.
See, the more you describe this, it's all making a lot more sense.
It felt like a nitro. I'm telling you, it felt like a
Yeah.
nitro.
And then we cut to Kidman talking to the internet guys.
Yeah, we're gonna skip all that too. So Disco Inferno
Disco
versus
Inferno.
Juventud Guerrera.
Juventud Guerrera.
9 minutes and 39 seconds of okay.
Can we just like acknowledge right now?
No. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I was going to let you go on. That like you could clearly tell Disco fucks.
WCW at this time fucking loved Disco Inferno.
Oh my god.
Like, he got so much airtime.
Too
Not
much.
just on this pay-per-view, but on their shows in general.
Like I wonder how many illegitimate children he fathered in his 3 days in Vegas pre and post this pay-per-view. Because like when he walks in and he starts doing his little Disco Inferno, he's got the little hip shake and everything.
I wish we had a camera rolling.
You just
for
could not.
the listeners at home.
That
to
was
see
the
you
most
doing
rhythm
that.
I've seen you have, Dave.
That's true.
Like you were
It's the booze.
ladies and
talking.
gentlemen, he was gyrating.
There's a little hip action going on there. It's the warlock in me
There
now.
we go.
But like you could not find a woman in that audience who wasn't just like at a fucking Nickelback concert in 1998, like fucking ripping shit off, ready to go for Disco Inferno. I'm sorry. Like this very basic guy, but they fucking loved him.
Listen, Disco Inferno, look, he was not in my top 100 favorite wrestlers of all time. I really wasn't a fan of Disco Inferno back then, especially because I shouldn't be, because he was a heel, But I didn't think his gimmick was very endearing. I couldn't relate to it either, to be fair. But he looked the part. He was in great shape. He was a fine wrestler, and he was over enough. People were, like I said, to your point, they were dancing in the audience weirdly. I don't really understand it.
When he was out of the ring, women were reaching through the barriers just to grab him, just to touch him.
He's in good shape.
He's an okay first motherfucker.
He is in good shape.
He's in okay shape compared to the WCW roster at this time.
Listen, compared to Adam Bomb, yes, he's in okay shape, but
Compared to any Steiner, compared to Buff Bagwell, compared to Hulk.
First of all, we all
Hulk
know
Hogan,
that Scott
Nash,
Steiner's
Hall.
muscles have
You're
veins, and
naming
his
all the
veins have
people who are
muscles.
like on roids.
Yeah, Ultimate Warrior.
And I guarantee he was too.
They all were.
Yeah. But I think he was in good shape. I mean, I'm not saying he was like jacked, but for his frame, he's in good shape.
I'm pretty sure he impregnated half of Vegas. Like, he just might have like looked at
By
like,
shaking his hips?
No, he might have done that. Like, he might have went back to the hill. Like, when you're coming back, you guys have been, I know you both have been to Vegas, right?
Yes.
You ever done the trip to like Hoover Dam and Lake Mead and everything, or like Grand Canyon, drove back, anything?
No.
You guys ever done
I
that?
did that one time,
All right.
yes.
When you're coming back from there, you're coming up over a hill and Vegas like opens up in front of you. I'm pretty sure Disco Inferno climbed that fucking mountain, shaked his hips and went booyah, and like 33% of the women were immediately pregnant.
Sure.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm sure he did too. I'm sure they definitely did.
They took it.
They took it.
I will say that the design of his tights were making my eyes hurt a little bit. Maybe it was just my TV or it was me, but I couldn't handle it. It was like the black and white. It felt like those strobe lights almost. It was very distracting. I'm glad that when it happened, the announcers called it out. When Mike today said poor weight distribution on that pin, I fucking lost it. I was like, you know what, Mike, that's a good call, man. The professor strikes again.
You are not bad at your job, sir.
He is. That's a good call.
I enjoyed so much during this match of this being like, if Disco only ever wanted to take this seriously, he could be so good. But look at him. This is where you gotta I feel like they were coaching him during the match, even though he couldn't hear them. But it's like when you're watching a sporting event of any type and you're just screaming at the TV hoping they hear you.
Yeah.
That's like during this entire time they're just like, come on, Disco, this is where you pin him now. Don't let him get off the hook. I felt like that was a third of the match when he wasn't trying to impregnate half of Vegas. Also, the audacity of this man to do the fucking Macarena mid-match.
God damn it, that was so not good.
The audacity of the 90s to allow this to happen.
Oh, it happened. And
It was happening a lot.
The audacity of pre-9/11 America.
Oh, man.
Fuck.
It was a different time.
It was a different time.
Hoovy is like go on.
He didn't even do it right.
Is there a right way to do it?
Yes.
I think it's all wrong, man.
Probably is.
It's all wrong.
It's all bad. Hoovy's like a standard WWE cruiserweight, which is it was cool to see him wrestle. It was weird seeing him without a mask. It's always weird seeing him without a mask.
Yeah.
It always throws me off.
Probably for him too. I feel like he wakes up and the mask is on.
Yeah, and this match had a little more weight to it. The winner got to face Billy Kidman later in the night.
Yes.
Wait, are you sure that's not a pun in the fact that Disco was not really a cruiserweight?
I mean, he's bigger than most cruiserweights, yes.
They were saying that a
true.
lot during the match. She was like, "This guy isn't a cruiserweight. I don't know what scale he got on. But he's not making weight."
He got a skill from Wish, apparently. But yeah, fine match. He was a staple in 90s WCW. Disco Inferno was.
Yep.
And again, crowd reacted, and that's the important part.
It was an average match. It wasn't great,
So wait,
but it wasn't terrible.
Go ahead.
Can I tell you guys that for my life, I was mistakenly calling Juventud Guerrera Juventud Guerrero, and
One letter makes all the difference.
I thought that he was related.
He is not
to the Flying Guerreros.
No,
Nope.
he is not. No.
And when I was looking over the match card, and I went, "Oh, after all this time,
Well, now you know.
change things."
You're like, is that a different guy or same guy?
There's a different guy named Juventud Guerrera.
Yeah, that was my bad.
So
It's like not a part of Chavo and Eddie.
nope, he's not related to Gory. None of them motherfuckers.
None of them. No.
So we're gonna. God damn it. Scott Steiner's promo is what it is.
Scott Steiner, you meet a muscle with eyes.
Yeah. The muscles
genetic
have veins,
freak.
and his veins have muscles. He is like he's a full on genetic freak, big booty daddy. All my freaks out there, holla if you hear me, that sort of thing.
Jones, as you said, his veins have muscles and his muscles have veins. I actually have that note written down verbatim that way when we get to the match, when we get to the Steiner Bowl.
There are a few jokes that I've ever said in my life that have stuck the landing like that joke stuck.
Mm-hmm.
That joke stuck like 14 years ago. It's still out there in the world.
Jones, I'm gonna show this to you right now.
He's unzipping his pants.
Scott Steiner's muscles have veins. His veins have muscles. Listen, it's accurate. I wasn't lying when I said it.
No, and I'm pretty sure you've said that before.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean. I said that.
It's just in your head.
I said that joke like fucking 15 years ago, and it popped you when I said it.
Living rent free in my head all of these years.
I said that shit to you when we were living together.
I know, man. It came so fucking naturally too.
Because it's just in your brain. I've moved in.
Yeah.
So I've been wanting to get to this match because you watch wrestling long enough and you like study it and you get into it and be like me and like listen to a lot of wrestling podcasts and when you're drive, your commute and things like that, you start picking up on things. You start learning things you didn't know how things worked in wrestling matches. So Fit Finlay versus Das Wunderkind, Alex Wright. I got a kick out of this because my wife's in the room. She watched most of the pay-per-view with me, even though she was on her phone the whole time.
Yeah.
But I was like, hey.
But she was there.
She was there. I was like, hey, the greatest German wrestler of all time is on TV right now. And for those who probably already know, most of you know, my wife's from Germany, German citizen. And she looks up. She's looking, and he's doing his little dance, and she's like, him. And I said, yeah, that's right. Das Wunderkind. And she's like, I was like, is that how you guys dance in Germany? She's like, gave me the finger, of course. And I'm like, no, seriously, like, is that you guys do the discotheque? I've told you about the discotheque. I know I told you about you guys about the discotheque, haven't I?
I don't recall.
So in Germany, they call it a discotheque. It's not a club, it's a discotheque.
Yeah.
And I get such a fucking kick out of that because we don't call them discotheques here. Maybe they did in the 70s.
U2 did once.
I did?
No, U2.
Who's U2?
That one band that's super overrated.
That one band.
Oh, them. Yeah.
That has all their music drop on iTunes and you can't get rid of it if you have an iPhone.
That was just one album. But we still have it. Still can't get rid of it.
Can't get rid of it.
But so she's like, she's just offended by the fact that I'm insinuating this is how Germans dance, of course.
You just insulted her entire people just based on
Alex Wright.
Alex Wright.
Yeah. But here, so I'm watching the match. Isn't good.
Not great.
Which is fascinating.
Not even
because
good.
Alex Wright's really, really fucking good. Fit Finlay's really good. So what the fuck's the problem? And it's funny, a very young Fit Finlay who still looks like he's 50.
So Jones, I'm going to let you finish your thought because I think I have an answer to your dilemma.
So I'm watching this match, and I don't know if you guys, I know you guys caught this. It's the first match of the whole night where there's a boring chant. It starts a little low, and starts to get a little louder. And I'm like, oh, that sucks. You never want that, especially on a pay-per-view. That's embarrassing, especially two capable wrestlers.
Yep.
And I felt kind of bad for him. And then I started noticing, like, the tempo changes a little bit. They start getting a little more, Alex starts getting a bit more aggressive. And they're out on the outside, and they're doing all this extra stuff. I'm like, okay. And they're trying to get a pop out of the crowd. And I realized that they called an audible hard in this match, real fast. And it just started getting really intense because I guarantee that's not how the match was supposed to go.
Yeah.
And it's rare that I get a chance to really notice it and like see it like a moment in time where the crowd's not into it. So we got to change.
Yeah, you got to pivot.
They literally pivoted. And although the crowd still did a little boring, but it was less prominent, I think the crowd got a little more into it. But I love that because that's professional wrestling. Like, to know, like, people are like, oh, it's all scripted, you just gotta go, it's choreographed. Like, in a sense, yes, but like the ability to just change on the fly and make decisions like that is like a real skill. And not all professional wrestlers, especially like if you're new, if you're pretty green, you don't know how to do that.
Right. And especially in a match that's only 5 minutes.
Jesus Christ. A hair over 5 minutes long.
They
got a lot in those 5 minutes if you think about it.
To go off the rails from a fan perspective so quickly, it's like, oh shit, it's only going to get worse unless we make it better.
Yeah, and I love that's because like it happens a lot and we don't necessarily notice it because if they're good enough and we're engaged enough, you don't notice it.
Yeah.
But this match wasn't good in the beginning, so there was like a quick change and they just went in a different direction. I like that. That actually kind of made it one of my favorite matches because I got to see it happen.
Yeah, so about all that.
Okay, here we go.
Yep, here we go. For a 5-minute match, I have 3 pages of notes.
Oh.
Do we have to listen to it?
Oh, yeah, you do.
Like 3?
Okay. Yeah. Because this is why I feel the match was the way it was. All right. Because I'm pretty sure that Fit Finlay looks like Nick Nolte's mugshot.
Here we go. God damn it. Okay.
Fit Finley looked like Nick Nolte's mugshot that spit him out, and then Vegas took what's left. Pretty sure, especially when I was watching this, Fit Finley looks how Vegas smells.
Oh my God.
Right? Fit Finley, during his time in Vegas here, only ate at strip club buffets while he was in Vegas. That was it. Fit Finley's hair looks like a butt tuft.
Yeah, I can't unsee that now.
First one.
It was from the state of... there's a second one. We actually skipped over it from the Bagwell promo, and we're going to come back to that when we get to the Steiner match.
Yeah.
Fit Finley's hair looks like a butt tuft from the state of Michigan's Prettiest Butthole contest. Scott Steiner rated it a 6.5 bicep flexes out of 10 butt tufts.
That makes fucking sense. I love it.
Rumor has it that if you open up a box of Lucky Charms at the Flamingo, Fit Finley will appear for a match.
One thing I love about this show, not Halloween Havoc, but nothing good, is when Dave fixates on something and he writes 3 pages of these fucking one-liners. He's done it with fucking Dan Savran. He's doing it
My
now
favorite.
with fucking Fit Finley. And we're fucking here for it, so please continue.
Yes.
So the fans were chanting boring during the match. That's not good. Clearly, none of them were present for Finley's 3-day rager. That saw him try to impregnate the mom. Not the mom, the MGM Grand Lion prior to the show.
Jesus.
He's just up there trying to mount that thing. Fit Finley's Halloween Havoc bender was the basis for the entire Hangover trilogy. All of it. The second one in Bangkok, that all occurred with Finley, a leper, a pimp, and a wrestler that would later be known as Hornswoggle over a 24-hour period at Circuit Circus. Oh, you thought I was going to say Treasure Island. That's how fucked up it was.
Oh, God.
Fit Finley, I'm pretty sure, is 700 years old. More people went to the bathroom during this match than Disco Inferno fucked and fathered while he was in Vegas. Seriously. It looked like the elevators at the Mall of America in the first Monday Nitro, except there were no escalators. To say that Fit Finley sweats Guinness would be too easy. Guinness sweats Fit Finley. That's all I got. Yeah.
Well done, sir.
Thank you for that. So when you said you had a lot of notes for this show, it was really just Fit Finley.
Listen,
joke.
As soon as I saw the beginning of this match and it was so fucking boring, my mind just took me to a place to like try to get through it. And then it actually took me about half an hour to get through this because I just kept pausing it as more things popped in my head to say about Fit Finley.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you gave us that. I feel like I'm a better person for it.
That was better than the match.
It was also better than the next match.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Lodi versus Saturn.
Did anybody like notice that Lodi looks like the lead singer of the band Crazy Town? That he looked like Shifty Shellshock.
Shifty.
Wait, that's his name?
That's his actual name, which might actually be better than most ring names, especially better than a ring name Lodi.
Idol.
It's backwards.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, just don't fuck with his signs, man. Don't fuck with his signs.
Yeah, it's Idol.
That's all he wants.
If you were to tell somebody to like look up the 90s to get an idea what the 90s looked like, it would be Lodi.
It probably would be.
Yeah.
Yo, so first thing I typed up here was how useless was Lodi in 1998. Pretty fucking useless. And here's the thing. I don't know how much actual ring experience, I don't know his real name, but Lodi has on a big stage. But he was not ready for Saturn. He looked lost as fuck that entire match. He did not know what to do. It was awkward.
It was not only awkward, but can we take a moment to like just point out that both Lodi and Perry Saturn looked like they were playing for Average Joe's Gymnasium in the first match of the Las Vegas Open?
Listen,
Like they clearly got the wrong box and it was just the S&M gear.
Yeah,
and that's what they
my
had.
first note was, what the fuck is Perry Saturn wearing right now?
he dressed like... Remember that time we were in Houston?
Yeah.
And...
Go ahead, Jones. Tell the story.
Look, and I'm not telling the story. That's for offline.
I think the listeners want to hear this.
No, if the uncut version of this episode. Maybe they'll hear it. We'll get a Patreon and we'll tell stories we can't actually tell on the air. He looked like he was in that.
Oh yeah, he was definitely on stage.
I'm like looking and I'm just like, Perry, you're a badass. Like you're like a military paratrooper. Why are you dressed like this?
Yeah, an S&M chainmail vest was an interesting choice.
That was
It's
the best.
It's a bold
With the hat
choice.
together was just such a strange combination.
We can't say anything about the hat because the hat was paying tribute.
I get it. The combination together with the chainmail vest.
Listen, you might even get away with it if it's the hat and the vest, but the goatee
And the goatee.
just clearly filled in.
Yep. He and look, I'm gonna tell you right now. Lifestyle choices are lifestyle choices. You ain't gonna get no judgment from me.
That's absolutely correct.
If you want to be into the bondage S&M business, brothers, sister, they, them, whatever the fuck you are, man, I got nothing but love for you. But, whoo boy, I didn't expect to see it on Halloween Havoc in that moment. I was like, shit.
Yeah, you expected like him to be on a leash and somebody escorting him down.
It just threw me the hell off. And I'm like, it
was
didn't fit
weird.
his gimmick.
It was a weird choice.
It just didn't fit him. Like that, it was just so odd combination of things to wear.
Yeah.
And again, it's Perry Saturn. I don't know how familiar you guys are with Perry Saturn. The Pit Bulls. Remember the Pit Bulls? And the Eliminators and all those guys in ECW. Perry Saturn and Cronus. I think John Cronus were a badass tag team. Perry Saturn is no joke. He will murder somebody. He's a really badass guy.
Can you imagine being murdered by Perry Saturn while he's wearing that?
No, I can't. This man, back in the day, one of my favorite finishing moves of all time was the Death Valley Driver, which I was so nice to see again. But Saturn's one of those guys who probably could have made a bigger play in WCW. It just didn't. He was too small, too short. They call what Nash called him the vanilla midgets. Him and Benoit, Malenko, and Guerrero. Yeah, he referred to them as vanilla midgets, which I don't know how to feel about that. But
Everybody's small to Kevin Nash.
yeah, pretty much. But yeah, the match it was 2 minutes and 10 seconds too long.
And it was only 3.5 minutes.
It was actually
3 minutes and 50 seconds.
I actually thought it was 3 minutes and 50 seconds too long.
It was just not good. It served no purpose. It was a Nitro match. It was a random Nitro match.
Mid-card Nitro match.
Yeah, Saturn wins by pinfall, and nobody seemed to notice.
No, not even Lodi.
No.
He was there.
He was at the receiving end, and he still doesn't even know that happened.
What's funny is that the Alex Wright Fit Finley match and the Saturn Lodi match, if you combine the time of those two, it is still shorter than Hogan and Warrior actually starting their match.
That's fantastic.
Again, fucking Halloween Havoc fucks with time. It does not care about what you have to do the next day, or in your evening, or for the rest of your life, because it is going to go, and it's going to be cold, it is going to be bleak, and it is going to occur every day for the rest of your life.
That was dark.
Not as dark as fucking Saturn's goatee.
It was very dark. It wasn't dark? This cruiserweight match.
I thought you were going to say the Neon Nitro Girls.
We're skipping right over them.
Skipping right over them.
I stopped typing about them.
Yeah,
There's no point.
Yeah, I stopped writing the promos and the Nitro Girls. My notes. We're just gonna gloss over that.
I just blurbed them. Oh, it's like, this time they have hats and chairs.
Hats and chairs. Billy Kidman.
That's a nice touch.
And Disc Inferno. Inferno's second match of the night. The match again. Fine match, a good Nitro match.
Kidman could go, man.
Kidman could always go.
Yeah.
Kidman was my dude back in the day.
Kidman, so
because he just seemed like a regular guy.
Yeah, I thought
he's relatable.
I thought he had a nice upside. I thought he was going to do some things.
Well, I mean, you would think that because during the entire match between Disco Inferno and Kidman, all they fucking did, Shivani and Heenan, everybody's saying, he's only 23. Can you imagine how much better he's going to get? They just kept saying that over and over and over again. And rightly so, because
Spoiler alert, He doesn't.
He doesn't.
No, to be fair, he does have a feud with Hulk Hogan like a year later.
Yeah.
Or 2 years later. So, I mean, granted, it was a short-lived feud, but it's still a feud. Did you have a feud with Hulk Hogan?
No.
I didn't. He wouldn't with me anyhow. I said it.
Touche.
I said what I said.
Facts.
Did you guys notice that Disco came down to the ring with his cum rag?
Yes.
Here we go again.
Yeah. Yeah, just in case he came over the crowd.
In case none of you knew, Kidman was married to Tori Wilson for like 5 years.
He was.
Which,
And together for like 8 or 9 years.
God bless him.
Good for him.
You know, talk about punching up.
Yeah.
Punch out of your weight class.
So when I watched this match, the first thing I thought about is how usually in like WCW pay-per-views, like previous Halloween Havocs, they were giving away shit. You know, whether it be like a Slim Jim giveaway with a monster truck or just another general giveaway of a monster truck. 6 people in the United States have monster trucks they can't do anything with because of WCW.
Yeah.
So when I was watching this, I was thinking, besides crabs, what else was WCW giving away that night?
Your mind works in weird fucking ways.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Don't act like Disco Inferno wasn't doing it.
So, the match itself, again...
Well, wait, hold on a second. Fuck. Scott Steiner just went ahead and fucking told the entire crowd he's ready to fuck that night.
Yeah, oh man, he was talking about he was going to be getting down.
Yeah.
He's going to be raw dogging that night.
Yeah. And the commentary throughout most of the night was Steiner banging, Disco Inferno banging, and Scott Hall getting fucked up.
It's the whole thing.
Yeah.
We will have a conversation about that real soon.
I enjoyed this match. I enjoyed the pace
was
of this
okay.
match.
It was a solid match.
It was
It was
good.
a solid match. I enjoyed the pace. I thought Kidman carried it, and rightfully so. He should have. He also didn't wrestle earlier that night. But then again, nobody wrestled more than 10 minutes in this pay-per-view. So
Yeah. At this point, this was the longest match of the night.
yeah,
I love
Almost 11 minutes.
Kidman. I know he was the first person I've ever seen do the shooting star press. And although I've seen other people do the shooting star press, far more impressive, like Brock Lesnar doing the shooting star press, because God bless him.
it's unnatural.
It is. It's
Man
one of
in a bear
those moves. Yeah, it's one of those moves that still to this day, it's impressive every time I see it.
Yeah,
It's just the shooting star press is just a cool move, and it's a cool name. But yeah, it was a solid match. Kidman could go, like you said, and it's unfortunate. I think most of us had high hopes for Kidman back then, and he just didn't really get there. But I think he did when he married Tori Wilson for a while. I think that was his main event slot.
Yeah.
He works as a producer of the WWE now. I
he
believe.
does. Yeah, he does. I during my time watching the pay-per-view and getting bored by it, I decided to go down a bunch of rabbit holes and just kind of take a look and see what a lot of these guys were doing today. And I was like, oh, Kidman's 49 and he's
Still working.
He's producing for Vince and Company, so good for him.
Mm-hmm.
Kidman wins by pinfall. Disco won by spreading his seed to Kidman because of the cum rag and everything else going on there. My last note about this was after the match, Billy Kidman became William Man.
I would really like to know where that came from, because that's what we call a head scratcher down here, where I'm from.
I originally wrote it down to be funny.
Well, good, because it's interesting.
But then I realized, because I was like, well, he's Billy Kid
Oh,
Man. And I was going to, now
I
he's
see.
William Man, but his last name also has Man in it. So I'm not changing it. He's just going to be William Man.
man.
No wonder it didn't work out for him.
Oh, shit.
I'm like, what's this? Is like your little pet name for him?
I couldn't
There's my little man
There's my
out
little
there.
I couldn't
Man,
fucking
man.
stop laughing
Go
when I
get him,
thought about
Billy.
that while watching this. And I'm so happy that I'm still laughing about it now.
You're not laughing. You're damn near in tears.
I am in tears. It's fucking great.
One of the greatest things one human being can do for themselves is to make themselves crack the fuck up.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
If you can make yourself laugh, then you don't need anybody else.
Yeah, well done, Dave.
There's-
Well
there's-
done.
William Man.
There's William. I was thinking about Scott Pilgrim versus the World when he's young Neil, which I think is one of the great fucking jokes in all of a sudden. He's not Neil Young, he's young Neil. And he's like, at the end, he's like, you played really well, young Neil. Now you're just going to be known as Neil. So in my head, that's how, Billy Kidman, you did so great in this match. Plus you were in a tank top and there's no way that Disco Inferno didn't get some DNA on top of you. So you're not leaving this match as William Kidman. You're leaving it now as Billy Kidman. You're leaving it as William Man.
Works.
It does.
Speaking of Man.
You've earned your keep.
Jesus Christ. Speaking of Man.
We got some Steiner action coming up.
So
some Steiner on Steiner action.
So the steroid budget for the pay-per-view just really picked up.
So
Jesus
of all the
Christ.
matches up to this point, this is the only one that really had like the build up.
Yeah, there were stakes.
Yeah, that felt like it meant something. One, it's brother versus brother with the Steiners, who had been in wrestling for a long time and had always just been known as the Steiners.
Yeah.
And Rick was always in the shadows because of Scott's off the wall fucking personality and roid rage. They also added stakes that night that if Rick Steiner and Buff Bagwell won, then the Steiners would have to face each other one-on-one for 15 minutes. And to the shock and surprise of no one, fucking Buff Bagwell
Jeez.
did a 360 on Rick Steiner.
180.
Sure.
We'll
that
go
too.
180. Because I feel like if you did a 360, it'd be back to
Oh,
being
it'd come
his
back
friend
around.
again.
Wouldn't it? Yeah. I'm using Steiner math.
Oh, you are definitely using Steiner math.
80% of the time. It's 50% of the time.
Like, and then I did a
100% of the
360,
time.
and then you'll be facing yourself in the West, Palm Beach, North Carolina.
That's right. Judge Judy. Judge Judy Bagwell.
My stomach hurt a little.
I feel confident that Scott Steiner would absolutely be judge number one for the prettiest butthole in Michigan competition.
He would be wearing his Hall of Famer ring, too.
He absolutely would.
There's no way he wouldn't.
They are from Michigan.
Oh my God, yeah.
There's no way. Like, it wouldn't take much either. Just promise him like a bottle of bronzer and like some bleach for his hair.
A bucket of fried chicken, he's in.
He's fucking there.
It's protein.
And he's probably wearing the chainmail too. I feel like he'd have to.
Listen, I know, and you know, and I know that you know that shit was ridiculous looking. But every teenage boy wanted it, just so you could have it and walk around
With the fucking the Ray-Bans and the chainmail helmet. Yeah.
Fucking Ray-Ban. To me, like if you wanted to like tell somebody what wrestling was about and just didn't want to give them any words, you just want to show them a picture.
You don't show him that big booty daddy.
You show Scott Steiner in the chainmail with the Ray-Bans on, just with his fucking muscle on top of his muscle.
It's just like
It's like a fucking Russian nesting doll of muscles just popping up off of
like
his
the tip
arm.
of his fucking bicep muscles like a little knot.
I know.
Like, brother, that's not normal. But he was in such fucking crazy shape then. Like, if you look at him, it's always interesting when you see people who are like too jacked and they're roided or whatever, they're juicing whatever they're doing. And just slight movements, veins are just popping. Just slight movements.
Right.
You're not even talking, not yelling. He just turns a little bit. They're just like, brother, you're about to explode.
Yeah.
Of nothing but like roid juice.
Like this is I don't think in all of watching wrestling that anybody ever has or ever will look like Scott Steiner. No, I don't think it's I don't think it's pharmaceutically possible.
But what's wild, I mean, if you go back and watch their WWE Hall of Fame induction from last year, like, he still looks like that.
Yeah.
And
He's still pretty ripped.
He's old as shit.
You can't undo that at this stage, Jeff.
You just gotta keep going.
Yeah.
Because if he stops, he'll die.
Yeah, there's no one.
It's like a shark. If he stops, he's just gonna cease to exist, man.
Oh god. He's like that dude. The dude's a real life fucking action figure.
Yeah.
Like he is.
It's wild.
It's crazy. And again, he has his face on his tights.
Yeah.
Like right on his dick. His face.
It's a choice. Yeah.
When you're the big bad booty daddy, you do whatever you want.
He's like, I'm gonna come out here, Vegas, and before I do this match, I want you to know that my dick is open for business.
That's what he was saying.
You come backstage, you come front stage, I will come all over your face. It doesn't matter, because Buff Bagwell is open for business. Oh, Buff Bagwell.
What-
No, fucking go Buff Bagwell.
Was
Scott
that a
Steiner
Freudian
is open
slip?
for business.
Because he's buff
Might
and
have
he's the
been too.
stuff.
He's
Yeah.
buff and he's the stuff. But yeah, Scott Steiner was fucking just. I have never seen anybody with the confidence just walk on stage on national, on like worldwide television, just go open for business.
When you look like that, you're well paid by WCW. So the match itself, I didn't really write much about either of the matches. It was more a matter of like, okay, so we needed the betrayal of Buff to make this mean more.
Yep.
Obviously.
Is there anybody in the world that you would be more convinced has truck nuts on his truck than Buff Bagwell? Is there anybody in the world that you'd be more convinced would have truck nuts on his truck?
I'm gonna have to think about that for a minute.
He might have fucking invented them. I don't even know. But he looks like every douche I've ever like seen drive like a Ford F-350.
For all of you who do drive one of those, Dave's talking about you.
Directly in your truck nuts.
So I'm going to ask a serious question. So I really did enjoy this whole thing. But my question is, this is like the most important question I'm going to ask today. And I want you guys to really dig deep inside and answer this. Look inside your soul for this. Look back on all of wrestling for this. Does Rick Steiner winning the WCW World Tag Team titles in a handicap match against one of the greatest tag team members of all time,
Who just so happens to be his brother.
and the goddamn Giant, make Rick Steiner the GOAT? Because, listen, that's a big fucking deal.
I would-
After getting demolished for like 10 straight minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know if it makes him the GOAT. I think it makes him the better Steiner.
I think that might make him the GOAT, man.
I just like that he had the ear guards.
He always has the ear
That's
guards.
know.
his thing.
I know, but I'm saying
He's
like,
never not had them.
I know, but I'm saying I just like the ear guards. Like to me, that makes him the GOAT just right
Just
off
right
the
off the bat.
Just,
Just,
right off the
just
bat.
based on that.
Because he came to wrestle.
Yeah.
Everybody else came to entertain. Worried about people seeing their ears.
I maintain that could make him the greatest that's ever lived. Because
I did. In all seriousness, I did have because I still had a lot of trouble keeping a lot of the seriousness up to this point in the pay-per-view. But how impressive a feat is it to win the tag team titles on your own?
that's what I'm saying.
Just solo.
I think I read this. That was the second time that happened in WCW.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder who the first was. I'll look that up.
That's interesting.
Anybody out there, if you know, chime in on social media. The answer, because I'm not looking it up.
No. At this point during the pay-per-view, during Halloween Havoc, I'm playing a game. It is wrestlers working in jeans versus wrestlers dressed like they're on a guy-on-guy bondage porn. And at this point, it's 3-3.
This pay-per-view has unlocked some weird shit in Dave's head.
Yeah, unexpectedly.
I know you guys watched the same thing I watched. First off,
Yes.
you saw Lodi.
Yeah,
You
I've seen Lodi before.
He has like handcuffs around his waist.
Yes, that's his.
Who approved that?
Kevin Sullivan did, I guess.
Fucking Perry Saturn walks out of a village, like out of a YMCA Village People
He really
video.
did. He really
He's
did.
clearly the fucking biker
Yes.
into a ring.
Yes.
Right now, Buff Bagwell is doing both in this match.
Yes.
So, it's just a lot of interesting choices. Like, if you were to go ahead and say to somebody who's never watched wrestling before and be like, give me your thoughts on this. And like, there's a lot of leather. You know,
It's a lot of leather.
It's a lot of leather.
A lot of interesting.
Yeah, I don't think any of us would tell anyone to start with Halloween Havoc.
But it was a cool thing to see, Steiner and Steiner go at it, and it was a fun match, and it was cool because you never think you'd really see it on a big stage. After Scott turned on Rick, it was a big thing, and I remember being pissed as a kid, like motherfucker, like don't join the NWO.
Yeah,
But I think it was the best he could have done for his career.
agreed.
Because I mean, Scott Steiner back in the day was not known for being a big talker. I mean, he could cut a promo, but it wasn't a great promo. Rick was always the talker of the two. So to see him unlock that next version of himself, kind of like Bradshaw becoming JBL, whether you like JBL or not, Dave, I'm looking at you.
I think it did a lot for his career.
But it did more for his career than staying a tag team would have ever done. Unfortunately, Rick never really caught that singles bug. Mm-hmm. He turned heel eventually. I don't know if you guys remember, like late WCW, he became a heel and joined with Scott. And he was like the dog-faced gremlin, but like almost like a Scott Steiner version of him. It didn't resonate with me then either, but it was a fine match. It was fun.
Yeah, because I mean, as wrestling fans for as long as we've been watching it, like, for the nuances between Rick and Scott, like, the Steiners are always the Steiners.
They're always the
like,
Steiners.
They got to be together.
They've been around for a long time.
Yeah.
So let's
well, you've got wrestlers working in jeans in this pay-per-view at 3.
Okay, here we go.
Yes. Because like when John Cena was wrestling in jeans, nobody else was allowed to wrestle in jeans.
Well, they were jorts.
Well,
they were half jeans.
Yeah. Wrestlers dressed like they're guy-on-guy bondage porn 3. Times that Rick Steiner's nutsack was worked like a speed bag in this match 3.
Can we talk about how the even like the announcers, the commentators, like, man, we got to figure out what's going on with these low blows and whether or not they're illegal or not.
Like
they're always illegal.
Like what?
After the third one, I actually saw a Rocky montage where Balboa's just up there with a speed bag on his nutsack, just like going to fucking town. I'm pretty sure that's a joke in some other movie. They definitely parodied that. Can we give respect to the giant going to the top rope?
It was a little sketchy there for a second.
He realized halfway.
He is not very agile.
He realized when he was getting up there that I done fucked up.
He realized he should have practiced this earlier in the day.
He couldn't. Number one, structurally the ring may not have been able to handle it. Because did you guys notice I don't know why I noticed it this time around, but it really felt like the WCW ring was made out of something completely different than a WWF ring. It sounded different when the guys like hit the ring.
It's a different size.
People didn't bounce.
They don't bounce.
Smaller.
Like they really don't bounce off it at all.
Because WCW rings have less give. They've always had less give. Yeah. And the ropes are not made of the same material. So the bounce, there's very little bounce.
Right.
Which most wrestlers don't like.
So put a 500-pound man on top of those ropes and tell him to jump.
Well, he was second guessing himself once he was up there for a second.
But once you get up there, you fucking can't go down.
You're gonna be a pussy if you get back down.
Like nobody's gonna like kick out of that and then kick the ring, and then because if he drops down on that, the ropes snap. Probably at that point.
But what's weird is like, the giant then was giant, but comparatively to today, he's not that big. Like he's twice the size now that he was then.
Yeah, I know.
Like, he's just a regular-sized dude. If you were to take that giant and put him in today's ring.
It's crazy. I mean, if you look at the giant and he's walking out with the fucking tag team titles, it looks like he's a grown man playing with a kid's playing with his kid's belt.
He does.
That was a sight.
Mm.
But
watching him smoke a cigarette was not as cool as I think he thought it was.
No.
It was not. I don't remember thinking it was cool then either.
Anything involving fire in this pay-per-view was really poorly
Oh, we're going to
out.
get to that.
Oh, we're going to get to that.
Oh, my God.
We're getting closer to that.
Yeah. Speaking of which, so this next match, which on paper, you're like, oh, shit, the Outsiders explode. We're going to get the fight, We could have had this program between the two of them without the real life issues Scott Hall was having. I feel like it's disgusting. It's insulting. I didn't like it then because then I was into the dirt sheets, so I knew that Scott Hall was going through some stuff with substance abuse. So they decided in their ever-present fucking wisdom to make it a part of the fucking show, which tell me that doesn't make the demons worse.
Yeah, for me, like, I fucking loved Hall and Nash. And on paper, I'm like, Hall and Nash, like the Outsiders breaking up, fighting each other, like that's awesome. And then it's like knowing what Scott Hall was going through, it just felt wrong.
Yeah.
Like to bring that to light and sort of work it into the match. I'm like, dude has some serious fucking issues going on outside of the business.
Yes.
And like to just sort of put that on display and parade it in front of everyone,
like,
it just didn't sit right.
And WWF is not immune to this. We're gonna get to that in a second, but to the WCW point, you sit there and you watch, and I remember being a kid, and I remember going, "This doesn't seem like it's right." Like it didn't. I'd never really been around anybody like with like alcohol problems, but like you knew about it, you knew enough about it to know that like this can't be good. Eric Bischoff, who was the last say in a lot of things. And by this point in 98, he was definitely dipping his toe more and more creative. Has gone, like just one of the last episodes, they went over this whole pay-per-view and this angle, and he was talking about how embarrassed and how just like he wishes that he didn't say okay to any of this. But it's like when you're in the moment, you're like, and Scott's like, okay. But like in retrospect, like why the fuck would you do? Why would you ever think this is even a good idea? But WWF did the same thing years later. I remember fucking Pepperidge Farm remembers when Stone Cold fucking kidnapped Hall when the NWO had invaded. It was pouring beer all over him.
Yeah. Yep.
Like at the time, Hall was already dealing with. It was actually worse at this point, and he was taking medication that if he drank alcohol, it would make him violently ill. While Stone Cold is pouring beer all over him. What's wrong with people in the name of entertainment?
That's Vince. That's Vince getting back. You left.
I guess
you took over wrestling for 83 weeks. Is that what it is?
Well, they beat WWF for 83 weeks
83 weeks straight. There's a lot of things that don't age well. And you can maybe even like subtitle this podcast "Nothing Good ... Shit that didn't age well."
You talking about us or the shit that we cover?
It's the shit we cover. Come and ask me 15 years.
This did not age well, and going back and watching this again, I was very uncomfortable.
Yeah, you feel bad for them both.
You feel bad. I mean, nothing about this was entertaining. I think that's something that when I look back on this and I watch it, there wasn't anything about this angle, about what they were doing, that was entertaining to me. Having them go to the bar and fight, and having Hall, whether he was or he wasn't, portray that he was drunk. Out
coming
in the
out
ring,
with a drink,
coming out with the drink, and all this other kind of stuff.
But then they were like, that the commentary was making a bunch of references to it, like jokingly, but they were even making references to it in the match. Like, Nash was calling Hall out on his drinking problems, and then like the first power bomb, and he's like, "Oh," he goes to the crowd, "You want me to make it a double?"
Yeah,
and I'm like.
Exactly.
Dude's going through some real shit.
You want another one, huh? He's doing like the kicks to the midsection. You want another one? Could get you another one. How about a double?
And like I get the portrayal of tough love, but at what point is it like, that's a bit much, man?
This isn't actually helping his real life issues, which, for the record, followed him the rest of his fucking natural born life.
Yeah.
Which shortened his life. Yeah. Which is a fucking tragedy that it should never have gotten to that point. Yeah. Now, look, he's a grown man, make his own decisions. He had his own... I'm not going to misspeak about his history, but he had a lot of fucked up things happen to him in his younger years, which led him to drink a lot anyhow, and he just unresolved shit, and it builds. It will build. But it's unfortunate that although Hall did get a lot of help a lot of times, and it seemed like maybe he was in a better place before he passed, it took that long to get to that point for him to get a little healthier. But this point in 1998, making light of his real life substance struggles was just poor taste then, and it's awful taste now.
Yeah, and the commentary was, even outside of this match, they were still making references to like him going on a bender while they're in Vegas and like all this other stuff. And I was like, dude is struggling for real. And like, the way the match ended after the second power bomb, and Nash is like, I'm not even going to pin him. I'm just going to walk out. And like, for him to show that restraint, I think goes back to his love for Hall. But at the same time, it's like, how much tough love is too much tough love?
Yeah.
To
me, this is all lazy writing. You know, I think this is, you have the most iconic moment in the history of wrestling is NWO.
Yeah, I mean, those two guys are just as much brothers as the Steiners are.
Yeah. And, you know, what they did and with Hogan will be talked about forever. It goes down as the biggest, probably the biggest moment in the history of wrestling. Up to this point, probably, right? How do you need a subplot to drive
Exactly.
something like that forward? You already have, you know, one of the most iconic tag teams of all time, changed the game of wrestling, introduced one of the two greatest factions in the history of wrestling next to the Horsemen, right? And now they're going to fight each other. You can't come up with any other driving factor to make this work other than Hall's got a drinking problem.
Yeah. It could have been unresolved jealousy. It could have been like just resentment that's built over years.
And I think
money,
which they had no fucking problem talking about during this point of the pay-per-view, because like every third thing they talked about was about how much money they're going to make.
Yeah.
And it just none of those things. And I think when you take it that route, right? When you take it to, you know, he's, you know, got a drinking problem, he has a drug problem and things like that. As a person wanting to suspend disbelief to watch this and engage in it, you don't want to. You know, I think it automatically kind of already puts up a barrier for you to want to go down this rabbit hole because, you know, jealousy, rage, money, all those things, you know, you can play around with. Yeah. But this, you can't. And it's one of the things is looking back on it that's just like, you know, poor fucking choices all the way around.
Yeah, and part of it too is like, if you take yourself out of today and knowing how things played out and put yourself back in the mindset of 1998 in October when we were teenagers, it's like we didn't see it that way because it was just part of the story. Now watching it back, it's like, all right, that's fucking disgusting. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
That was so poorly chose in terms of the way that you took it. But at the time, it's like, same thing with Bischoff. At the time, it's like, this might work.
Fuck, it didn't. And the match itself wasn't a bad match. Like, and that's the point. It could have been so much more.
It should have been.
It was, you know, it was really nice to see because you rarely see it. And the only reason you saw it is because it was Hall. Nash was selling like a motherfucker for him. Yeah. He was selling like he was beating him, like throwing him money.
Yeah.
And you rarely see Nash sell for anybody like, especially then.
Yeah.
He didn't sell for people like that shit. Hall was beating that ass hard. And it was nice to see, you know, that. And the match was physical and it was aggressive and it felt personal and it could have, like, to the point, I'm not going to reiterate it too many times, but it could have been more than it was for what is considered the WrestleMania of WCW for the year. Again, Hall, Nash on paper. Oh, let's see what this is going to be about. No, not this.
Yeah. If you go through a Rolodex without context and want to find wrestling matches based on who it is, and you go ahead and type in Nash versus Hall to see if anything pops up, and this is the match, like, fuck, yes, let's go. Then you watch it, you're like,
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that happened.
Yeah. So you know what else happened?
Oh, God.
I'm trying to get better at these transitions, let me tell you. Brett versus Sting.
Neon Nitro Girls.
Right. So Brett versus Sting.
With chairs or without?
Without. This one just bad wigs.
Nice.
Yeah. So this is actually the longest match of the night. By like a minute and change. Not even a whole minute. Bret Hart, who's my favorite wrestler of all time, which was well established, versus Sting, who's not one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, but he's in the top 20 somewhere.
Again, on paper, you tell me I'm going to get Bret Hart versus Sting
for the U.S. title.
For the U.S.
15
title
solid minutes.
For 15 minutes.
Yes,
that's exciting.
Sign me the fuck up.
Now here's the thing: this match isn't bad. It's good because they're both really good at what they do. So the match was never going to be bad, but it didn't stand out. But even what we would consider a bad Bret Hart match is still a good match.
It was a Monday Nitro match.
It was a Nitro match.
If there ever fucking was one on this card.
They could have gone harder. It could have been more, but I think because, okay, here's my rant, because I put this shit in bold. Okay.
This is why he brought the laptop today. Nothing that we talked about on this podcast, on this pay-per-view, up to this point in time, mattered. Jones needed to make sure that when he put in bold his thoughts about Bret Hart, it came out exactly how it was supposed to.
So, fun fact, I didn't type any of this, what I'm going to say out. I just made so I didn't forget.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, how about that?
Oh, fuck me then.
Yeah, motherfucker.
What an asshole.
So, do you guys recall, by any chance, the build-up to this match?
No. Not at all.
No, because
It didn't feel like there were any stakes.
Because there was a build-up to, and you would have known that had they put like a video package onto this.
So we can go ahead and go back and change theme music, and we can edit people out, and we can remove matches, and we can take the WWF logo out of all of these things. But they can't have a separate department of people that go back, and their responsibility is to create video packages to put in the middle of these pay-per-views to make them more watchable.
I mean, I would like that, but that's a lot of work.
They're already doing it.
Yeah, but that's a lot of extra pay-per-views and shows. That people, who's going to watch them? There's no guaranteed.
If you knew that they went ahead and added video packages back to a lot of these old pay-per-views for WCW, you wouldn't go back and watch it?
Probably
Unless it's for the show, no. I might just watch the video package and then be done.
Yeah, fuck me twice then.
No, Dave, I won't. So the build to this match, and it stands out to me because it was one of those moments in wrestling where I realized that WCW did not know what the fuck to do with Bret Hart. Nope. It's when I realized that then in 1998 when this happened. So the whole thing with Warrior was going on. Okay. The ever presence of the OWN and Hogan and the NWO, and Bret was kind of the wishy-washy member of the NWO at this point. I couldn't tell you now what initiated it, but Hogan and Hart had a little altercation on Nitro one night. And they got in each other's faces. Now, historically, the one match, if you grew up watching wrestling in the 80s and the 90s, you wanted Bret and Hogan. We never got Bret and Hogan. Never actually got it. For various reasons, because of ego on both ends.
I find that hard to believe.
Right? So they kind of like get in and you can look it up on YouTube. It's actually pretty sweet because they like get in each other's faces. And at one point, I feel like Bret says "you motherfucker" to him. Like you can see him mouth it, and like it's like and they're getting serious. Like
Bret says that a lot.
We see that in this match. He says "fuck you" to someone in the crowd.
I love it because Bret's a fucking when he's a heel, he's a heel. And they don't get into it because Warrior shows up, and then Bret like drops out of the ring, and then all the NWO members get knocked out with some stupid ending to Nitro. So the next week, I want to say it was the next week, Hogan calls Bret out. Like, I'm going to beat that Canadian's ass, basically. And Bret's like, I'll fight you. Like, and look, WCW giving away pay-per-view quality main events on free fucking TV. Why does this feel like a Nitro? Because it was like a fucking Nitro. So I remember where I was when I heard that Bret, the Hitman Hart, and Hollywood Hulk fucking Hogan, the newly turned face Bret Hart, and Hollywood Hulk Hogan are going to fucking finally mix it up. A dream come true. A match you've always wanted to see. You never thought you'd see it. You felt that when Hart came to WCW, it was going to happen. We're going to get this match finally.
Bigger than Hogan Rock?
In WCW, yes. In WWF, no.
In general. Take promotions away. Which match would you have wanted to see more? Hogan Hart, Hogan Rock?
Oh, Hogan and Hart.
Okay.
I mean, Hogan and Rock was great because of the young line, old line bit. But this is a who's the best. It's been that argument for a long time.
Yeah.
So the match starts and they start having a fucking match on Nitro, main event of fucking Nitro. Holy shit, this is actually happening. And it's like maybe 5-6 minutes of a match, you know, and Hogan's trying to come up to Bret's level, but he's like doing a little chain wrestling. Like you can watch it on YouTube. And then I think it's Hogan like throws Bret out of the ring and he injures his knee. So Hogan smells blood in the water. So he goes after Hart and he starts dropping his knee on the guardrail, smashing against the tables, bending it around the ring post to the point where Hart can't get up. He can't even get on his feet anymore. Sting comes out, who's, I guess, because Hart's turned his back on NWO Hollywood, the Wolfpack's like, we'll stand for Bret here. And Sting gets in the ring and says, hey, man, he can't wrestle anymore. He can't perform anymore. Fight me. Hogan's like, all right, motherfucker, let's go. So then Lex Luger and Conan come out, and they help Bret out of the ring. They get him on a stretcher. They strap him in. They're wheeling him out to the ambulance because Bret can't walk anymore. The EMTs are there. They're getting him into. They're starting to get him into the ambulance. The two EMTs that are standing off, they rip off their shit. It's like Buff Bagwell and Scott Steiner. Bret's locked in the fucking thing. He can't get up.
How do you make that mistake?
How could you not?
They're pretty much. There's
How
masks.
could you not tell that the EMT was fucking as wide as this table?
You work in healthcare.
They're all covered
They
up.
don't look like that.
They're all covered up.
You know this.
I've met some pretty big nurses in my day.
Not Scott Steiner big.
No, not Scott Steiner big. But anyhow.
Did any of those nurses have their face on their jock?
You don't want to know.
I do actually kind of now.
Well, I'll tell you after the show.
All right.
Yeah. So Bret's desperately trying to unhook himself while Luger and Conan of the Wolfpack are getting beaten up by the NWO Black and White by Hollywood. Eventually, Bret gets himself free and starts limping back through the audience, trying to run away from the beatdown. By this point, the match with Sting and Hogan still going on. Sting now has Hogan in the Scorpion Deathlock. Bret rolls into the ring. He's kind of like, yeah, get him, Sting, get him, gets close. He just gives him a fucking DDT. Stands up, shakes his leg. It's on like Donkey Kong. And they start beating the shit out of Sting. Bret has turned heel again for no fucking clear reason. What was the point of having a 5-minute match where they were hitting each other?
There was
10 minutes
pure
ago.
WCW logic.
Yes.
Well, there was a lot of double crossing and triple crossing.
It didn't make any sense.
And then one time where Buff Bagwell dressed up as Bill Clinton.
So now we have. It's true. Now we have.
It was in this pay-per-view.
Sting
Sting glazed over that.
has a vendetta
Halloween.
against Bret Hart for the United States title. That's where this came from. My rant on this is that you could have actually had Hulk Hogan versus Bret Hart at any point in the time they were both in WCW at the same time. And instead, they just never did it.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is WCW'd.
What I'm saying is Eric Bischoff did not assert enough dominance as the dude in charge to get these two egos in line.
But he kissed Hogan. How much more assertion do you need? Do you need a Disco Inferno all over the crowd?
I wasn't there, I can't tell you. But I do know is that he, as the guy in charge, he should have been the one that said, no, this is what we're going to do. You both have creative control in your contracts, that's fine. We'll figure out the finish, but we're getting this match in the ring because this is something that people want to see. I don't know. I'm still always be salty about that. But the match itself, talk about a dream match that was okay. And Bret actually tried to kill Sting with the bat.
He did.
It was okay. This match was, how long was it? 15 minutes and 5 seconds. It took me 14 minutes to decipher if Sting actually had a goatee or if that was part of his makeup. Because it looked weird as shit.
What was the goatee budget on this pay-per-view?
There were a lot of goatees in
70K.
WCW in the late 90s.
You had the cocaine budget from the 80s. I mean, there's always the ever-present steroid budget. But, you didn't really have these guys are now getting into their 40s. We got to paint their facial hair on budget.
Yeah. I was never a big fan of heel Bret Hart. Obviously, the commentators were not a fan
Wait,
of
WCW heel or WWF heel?
either.
You didn't like the Canadian shit?
I did not like.
Good.
I did not like WCW.
I mean, it was
heel
good.
Bret.
I just did not love him being a heel.
Oh, you want to
Just
cheer
because he was my hero.
I get you.
Yeah. He was really fucking good at it. I just didn't like it personally. But it was a solid match, and it all came down to who's gonna get in the sharpshooter to end it, and because they're both like super technical wrestlers, and it was not super great. It wasn't like a textbook wrestling match where it's like we're putting on a fucking clinic. It was just like it's kind of slow. It's not super entertaining. It's not great. It went a little longer than it needed to.
It did.
It's not how you would book this. Nothing about this is how you would, in your right mind with these two athletes, really book this match.
it's fascinating because they had 15 minutes.
They did.
They could have done a lot of superplexes, all sorts of stuff. There could have been some high spots. There could have been a lot more. And I get Brett was very much playing the heel and slowing it down, jumping out of the ring. And I get it. That's a very 90s heel thing to do. Late 90s heel, get out of the ring. And, I'm not going to fight that guy. And then they do the whole thing.
This is beneath me.
So, like,
Which in Canada, everything's beneath Canada.
And this is like, I actually think we've been doing okay with sidebars today, so I'm going to sidebar real quick. We're almost done with the show anyhow. And fuck it, you guys will listen to this. Talking about this match and watching this match made me think about, and I'm digging into my brain with, eventually when we do it again, our dream feuds. I have another
Part
one.
2.
I'm gonna put it out there because I'll tell you. So...
Speaking of, if you have not listened to that episode, please go listen to it.
Go back and listen to that one.
That was a fun fucking show.
That was a good fucking show.
I feel like if you're a wrestling fan, you will enjoy the fuck out of that episode. So, hear me out. Yo, how good would this shit be? I've already started booking it in my head. Let's say 1997, 98, 97 Taz from ECW. Through from the Red Hook, who will choke you the fuck out. The FTW champion. Versus the 2004 Evolution Triple H. I'm telling you now. In 2004. Take WrestleMania 20's main event. Take Hunter out. Take Benoit out. Put Taz in there. Imagine. Because Hunter will approach this as like, who the hell are you? You're beneath me. You're some guy from that bingo hall up in Jersey. You know? Like, I'm the world's heavyweight champion. You know who held this title? Buddy Rogers held this title. And Taz is like, and the whole gimmick will be Taz wins the Rumble, right? Shows up and Triple H just says, "No, I won't fight you. I won't fight you." And he's like, "But I'm the number one contender." He goes, "No, you're not. You're not mine. You can fight the other guy on SmackDown. You're not fighting me. I refuse." And Taz like, "Because you're afraid." He goes, "I'm not afraid of you." And Taz just starts kind of like, because you got to have a chase. And eventually, Taz like won't stop, and then Evolution beats the shit out of him. I mean, when I say beats the shit out of him, they won't stop, and Taz keeps getting up.
I could see this because I feel like every single time that Batista would stomp on Taz, his tattoos would get a little bit more like sharper.
Okay. Like, okay, all right.
Like in a video game.
I like where your brain goes today.
Like when a video game, like the character as he's like leveling
just
up.
The warlock in you.
Yeah.
His tattoos get better as he levels up.
Just like
fucking Goku from Dragon Ball Z.
Absolutely. Like he just said, instead of like his hair catching on fire, it's his fucking belly button.
So I'm not going to give too much away. I'm not going to give any of the promo. I've been working on the promos a little bit too. But it'll be just literally like the whole thing is going to be the whole time Hunter's in the back of the ring watching, where Flair, Batista, Orton are just beating the shit out of him. RKOs, power bombs, even a figure four, who knows? And every time they back up, and Taz just gets up. Slower each time, but he gets up. And Hunter's just like, motherfucker. So they, true ECW fashion, Hunter says, fuck it, hold on. He grips him up, gives him a fucking pedigree. Does the crotch chop, flips him off, spits on him. And they start getting out of the ring because Taz is down. And then the crowd starts to pop. And they turn back. Taz is slowly grabbing the ropes, climbing back up. And Hunter's like, no. So he gets back in the ring. Batista grips him up from behind. And they wrap a fucking chair over his head. Like old school ECW style. Like Raven chained to a fucking cage style. Just wraps the chair over his head. And that's it. The fucker doesn't get up. That's where I'm leaving you. That's where I'm at on this. This will be a money feud if done properly, which they could have done with Taz, by the way, but he wasn't Vince's creation. So
yeah. Well,
anyhow, sidebar done. I'm sorry.
Well, so I'm going to pull it back from the sidebar and go back to, because one thing I had in my notes and I completely forgot to mention it because we got off on a little bit serious note there. Go back to the Outsiders match real quick. You mentioned crotch chop. There were several crotch chops during that Outsiders match.
There were, yeah.
What did I miss here? So, I mean, I know those guys are all close. And, it's the Clique and everything else, right? But again, you've got DX and NWO, crotch chop's a DX thing. So where does the crotch chop come into play here in this match? What am I missing? What am I not thinking about?
What do you mean?
So like Hall or Nash gave the crotch chop
When he
to
was
Hall,
standing over the
when
top of
standing
him.
over top of him
Yeah.
and everything. So to me, that would be like a acknowledgement of WWF in terms of doing that in WCW. As somebody who, not as involved in the history of wrestling as you would be, Jones, right? So like I see that as somebody who's, I'd say I'm a middle, of the road wrestling fan, no more than maybe a casual fan. I will never pretend to say that I know as much as you or as Noah knows, right? But when I see that, I think to myself, you're crossing the streams a little bit there. Even though a crotch chop is a crotch chop, but like that in wrestling, that's such a DX thing. So how do we get there? How does that happen? Was that supposed to happen? Did they not care? Does it not matter? Am I reading too much into this?
I didn't really read that much into it. I felt it was more as just a fuck you from Nash to Hall.
Yeah.
I think I see what you mean now. It took me a second to really. I guess I'm so used to it. So
Like when he did it, I actually saw Waltman.
yeah. Well, I mean,
Like he just popped out like in Mortal Kombat.
it's
Going,
it's no different than Michaels back in '97 before he retired, coming out on Raw, walking down the ramp and doing the Wolfpack sign because that's what they do.
So it's a click thing.
That's a click thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, and maybe the suck it thing isn't a click thing, but it is because they're all boys.
Yeah.
So I mean that's kind of where it comes
Okay.
from.
All right. Just I need a little bit more context.
'Cause
Yeah, I
wanna
don't
say-
think there really was context to
And
it.
I
It
feel
just
like Six was
was a
doing
moment.
that in WCW too. I think he was doing the crotch chop a little bit before he went back became X.
I think genetically he can't not do it.
maybe you're right.
it's the only thing he knows.
Like there's just a compulsion that he has
Yeah.
that he can't control.
So let's talk about it here. 8.5 years in the making, because we're done with Brett and Sting. That match is
So the way that match finished, Sting gets knocked the fuck out, and
Go hard.
Brett still puts him in a sharpshooter.
Well,
he has his win legit. You know?
Yeah.
that match just felt awkward to
And
me.
then they play like some cowboy bebop music at the end, which didn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
Because why not?
But
But
Just seeing Hart in the WCW just felt unnatural to me.
because it
but
was
8 years in the making.
8.5 years in the making.
WrestleMania 6 rematch.
We are talking. Look. I'm gonna set the stage for you, folks. We're talking 8.5 years in the making. The hype of WrestleMania 6, leading to what is arguably possibly the most anticipated rematch of all time, a sequel to one of the greatest main events of WrestleMania of all time. Granted, WrestleMania 6 did not do great numbers because it was face versus face, but that's another conversation when we talk about WrestleMania 6. But one of the greatest rematches of all time. All the music, the pomp and circumstance, all the hype, the WCW video packages, the music, the posturing, the posing, the anticipation, and then they locked up, and it wasn't that good.
Nah, it was not that good. It was fucking bad.
It went to shit
Well,
fast.
whatever they were going to do, I think went to shit because it took them 10 minutes before they fucking even got started with it.
They were fucking up fast and picking up speed, man. Like, it wasn't good.
Yeah.
Like,
And it just kept fucking up.
Like, you could see during the match that Warrior tried to summon the ghosts of Cocaine Past to get himself into this match, and it just didn't fucking happen.
no, you know what you saw? He didn't know what to do.
No.
I don't know the last time he wrestled. Maybe he wrestled internationally somewhere. I doubt it. But it was like watching a guy who's never done it before try to do it, or has done it, but doesn't have a lot of
Hasn't
experience.
done it in a while.
He tried to do, like, Hogan's doing like the little arm bar, and then the Warrior tried to do a weird arm bar in reverse, and it looked weird, like you're gonna fucking hurt somebody doing it that way. Like he did like a almost a backwards arm, right? And I'm just like, this is not good. This. I don't remember this being that bad. I remember WrestleMania 6's
wasn't.
match wasn't amazing, but it was good because it was the height of Hulkamania, and Warrior was over like Rover, right? This shit was awkward as hell, and I don't know who told Warrior and Hogan that the test of fucking strength would work in 1998. that shit don't work in 1998. The crowd was like,
No,
what the fuck
And
you
not
doing?
only that, but they did it for like 6 minutes.
They did that. That's the thing. They did it at WrestleMania. They were doing so many random spots like they did in WrestleMania 6.
Yeah.
Because I've watched that match a lot.
Yeah, it's like revisit the glory days.
And it was not a good
It
idea.
was not great.
Well, so who comes up with that? Now is that when you're talking about this match and you're laying it out,
Hogan was calling shots.
right?
And
So-
it's interesting because, like, there's been a lot of stories over the years about, how this match came to be and how it was botched and whose fault it was and how it's quite possibly the worst WCW pay-per-view match ever.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, there's stories of, hey, Hogan and Bischoff brought Warrior in just to get payback for what happened at WrestleMania 6. And then, Hogan and Bischoff deny that. And there's just all this fucking
Of course,
chatter.
Bischoff
There's all this chatter
denies
about
that.
like, oh no, that's not the how and the why, but everyone's like, oh yeah, we fucked up bad.
It was an experiment.
They've at this point they have all three of them have owned up like, oh
So
yeah, we fucked
Eric
that
Bischoff
up bad.
says that he, met up with the Warrior, I think in Arizona, and they talked about, the contract and what the money and they agreed on everything. And so Bischoff flew home. By the time he got home, that's what we're talking about. He's getting faxes. So this, 98, 97, 98. I think he said it was like 20 some pages of Warrior's ideas that he had faxed over in the time it took him to fly home. Because Warrior's that guy. The One Warrior Nation was Warrior's idea, which was a cool idea.
Yeah.
It was cool. I remember being like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
it's like the NWO, but it's OWA.
Yeah. One
But he
Warrior
didn't
Nation.
trademark it, so now it's the Oprah Winfrey Network.
Yeah, well, they weren't smart about it.
Fucking opportunity lost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because Oprah got that money.
Oh, she got all of that
She
money.
that might have been enough to keep WCW afloat.
She should have bought WCW.
Shit.
Oprah, where were you?
You had one job, other than all your other jobs.
Too
But
fucking-
that other job that you could have done with WCW.
Too fucking short-sighted.
Yeah, but
Next time. Get
The
him next
Warrior,
time.
the Warrior experiment was a failure, admittedly by everybody involved. Warrior was not ready to be in the big time anymore, and honestly, it was arguable he was ready back then too. Everybody who's ever worked with Ultimate Warrior, Jim Hellwig, would complain that he was difficult to work with.
Mm-hmm.
He was an egotist. The man has a tattoo of himself on himself. I can't get past that. I hate it. I think that's like a level of arrogance and lack of self-awareness that like is beyond me. But this match was not good. And you know what? It's funny. I've watched this match like 3 times ever. I totally forgot about the fucked up flash paper.
To fire.
I forgot all about that.
So nobody really knows exactly how that was supposed to go down, aside from this fireball that Hogan was creating in
Slowly,
the ring, that
rapidly.
he burned his mustache and his eyelashes with.
Well, so
It's like something out of a movie.
no, dude, you mentioned a really important point to this because when you look at Hogan, because one of the things that I was thinking about while watching this is literally what was the shoe polish budget that they had to be able to keep Hogan's, because Warrior's face paint chips and falls off like nothing I've ever seen at this point. It doesn't even look like makeup at this point. It looks like Liam Neeson's face at the
It's
end
just
of Event
it's
Horizon.
melting off.
Yeah. It's literally Liam Neeson's face at the end of Event Horizon. And if you want a visual, watch that fucking movie. It's Halloween, everybody.
Yeah, watch that movie.
You'll get the idea.
Or don't.
Yeah.
It's not
But
good.
Sting comes to the ring. His face paint comes off. His fucking goatee comes off, right? Just fucking Disco Inferno brings a towel because he's trying not to get Billy Kidman to become William Man too quickly in this fucking pay-per-view. Warrior's face paint comes off. Hogan's beard is like fucking tattooed on, that it doesn't wipe, it doesn't smear, it doesn't move. 'Cause that shit ain't real. Nothing about that's real. That's the most unreal thing in wrestling, and that's saying a fucking lot.
That's the most unreal thing. That's his fucking facial hair.
Is that
Oh,
fucking,
Jesus.
but when he goes to light that thing, how did his lower mandible not just completely engulf in flames?
It's flame retardant. They planned ahead.
Smart.
It's like dust it with Kevlar or something. I don't
Jesus
fucking know.
Christ.
All I know is-
dusted with something.
I need to go back and watch or listen to some more podcasts about this show because I don't remember if there was a snafu with the finish, but I'm pretty confident that that whole thing became a clusterfuck really fucking fast because I feel confident that Warrior's supposed to get flashed in the eye and that was supposed to be the finish.
Yes. So the botch was he was supposed to get flashed in the eye and he didn't. And then in the back they called an audible
That's where Horace
and
comes
sent
out.
Horace out with the weakest fucking chair shot
Oh, it was weak sauce.
ever.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, that's how it's going to finish. And they're like, you know what, let's just set this dude on fire now.
As you can see, when
And then they
Bischoff
fuck that up too.
grips the referee, he's telling him what's happening.
Yeah.
That's why you watch wrestling long enough, you know when they're communicating. He's telling
Yeah.
them what when before Irish whips, when they lean in, they're talking about what spots they want to call, and that was definitely a moment where he was telling like, just let this shit fly. This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Because the moment the fireball doesn't work, panic sets in. Warrior does not know what to do.
Yeah, there's no backup plan.
Well,
Because Hogan, you had one singular fucking job. Don't miss.
like it was weird because again, when this shit happens in wrestling, I don't think if you're listening to this podcast, you're not discovering wrestling for the first time. We are not your introduction
If you
to
are,
wrestling.
if we are, let us know.
That'd be fucking.
I would be so
that'd be
pleased.
And you're welcome.
That'd be
Yeah.
pretty fucking sweet, right?
It would.
But like a lot of when you try to do these things, you're trying to maintain the illusion. When guys blade, you don't see where the blade comes from. You don't see them go ahead and nick their forehead. You don't see where, but like when this happened, it's like they didn't give a fuck. It looks like, you guys ever go to the grocery store and like look at the pre-made foods? They have wraps. Like a buffalo chicken wrap or like a turkey apple brie wrap or something like that. And it's in those plastic containers that like snap together and everything. That's what they gave Hogan with the fucking, with the lighter, with the piece of paper that was soaked in whatever was going to catch it on fire and everything.
Flash paper.
The
Yeah.
flash paper and everything. And like, there were no fucks given to trying to conceal in the ring what was happening because it almost looked like Hogan fudged getting the shit out of the container in the
'Cause he
first
did.
place.
Because they're
he
like,
did.
oh, he's got a lighter.
So
Like,
again,
oh, that's random.
I think this is a rhetorical question. We say, did they actually rehearse any of this beforehand? No. Same thing with Giant trying to, climb up to the rope. It's like, did you guys test this beforehand? You're not going to put a 500-pound man up on the top rope and let him think about it the second time he goes to do it.
Yeah.
You're not going to give a man who's got fucking shoe polish on his face an opportunity to think about this twice. So, like, he fucking Harry Potters this thing in a terrible way, and they're both just standing there looking at each other like, what?
So good. I was like, oh no. Why?
They're like, oh, we don't fuck this up.
Like, he didn't even get it close.
No. He
was- it
really
was
he hit
nowhere
himself.
Even, it was
Yes, he hit himself in the face.
It was a Three Stooges moment.
Yeah.
He was like 5 feet away from him.
like, if you would have went and, like, Hanna-Barbera this, and they just started chasing each other, like it was a hallway and you're facing it, and you just
It's an
watch them
eternal
running
hallway.
through.
They're
They're just running through the different doors
Oh
and
my
everything,
God.
chasing each other, and like then Bischoff and Horace show up, and then the door closes and they come back out.
You could have taken from the moment he starts, right before he starts fumbling to get the bag out of his tights, like 1.5 times the speed with Benny Hill music.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All the way till Horace comes out. Do 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 do, and the whole thing.
And best part about this too is that so all this happens, and somehow this match comes to an end, right? Mercifully. And then in just great wrestling fashion, they're like, you know what? This was so bad, and this was so poorly done. Let's just pull out an entire thing of lighter fluid,
Just light him on fire.
and we're just going to end this. We're just going to end it.
We're gonna take Jim Hellwig
Yeah.
out of the equation.
We're just
Yeah.
going to.
Yeah.
We're just going to
The
go
Warrior
ahead.
is going to be dead now.
We're going to literally make the Warrior into Kane.
And I don't even know if the Warrior knew that was happening. Because, like, after they left the ring, after they got removed from the ring, he, like, comes to and he's like, you could see he started tasting. He could taste
Like,
they
smell
sprayed
it?
it in his
Oh, yeah.
face. And he's like, what the fuck is all over me?
See,
Were they trying to light me on fire?
see,
I sacrifice him to Shao Kahn.
I'd thought about this.
Like, what the fuck?
I'd thought about this. When they're backstage talking about this, and they're like, listen, so here's what's going to happen. After this whole thing happens, we're going to light you on fire, but when we go ahead and bring the lighter fluid out, it's just going to be like water or something. So it's going to look good for the fans or anything. We're not really going to light you on fire. And then, like, after it happened and he was like, they left the ring and he's getting up, he realized they grabbed the wrong bottle.
Oh, they did all right.
And then he realized he's literally covered in fire. And if he rolled the wrong way onto...
He was laying on the lighter.
He was.
It was in the middle of the ring.
God, that would have just ended. Wow.
Between his spray tan and the fucking lighter fluid, he'd have got up like a Christmas tree.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like the fucking Christmas tree and Christmas Vacation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that match sucked.
Oh, it was bad.
It was actively... And it was 14 minutes of not good.
Yeah.
Was them planning to burn Warrior alive for no fucking reason other than they blamed him for that match?
It's Halloween.
Was that better or worse than Orton trying to blow up John Cena?
Worse. At least Orton was able to detonate. You know?
I feel like that goes to say a lot of things about Randy Orton's life.
Yeah.
It's Randy Orton. Say one good thing about Randy Orton. The dude can fucking detonate.
We almost got him.
Yeah.
He almost got him. At least he was able to get that far. So Hogan versus Warrior, the rematch of the century.
Did not live up to the hype.
Woo, no.
Not
On
even,
multiple
not even
levels.
a little bit.
So, you guys, we're coming to the end of this Halloween Havoc.
Thank God.
Halloween Havoc Part 3, Havoc Artist. And we're really at the fucking just meat and potatoes of this pay-per-view. Because we're going into, if I tell you, you can go ahead and book your dream pay-per-view of all time, and you told me, all right, I'm going to get Hall versus Natch and a Battle of the Outsiders. And then I'm going to go ahead and have Bret Hart versus Sting. And then I'm going to have the rematch of Warrior versus fucking Hogan.
It's stacked as hell, man.
You're looking at this and being like...
My money. Take
Which
it.
is what a
Take it
lot
all.
of people probably did.
Take it all.
Yeah. And then give it back to me because this is when
Right.
the pay-per-view is going to cut out.
Yep. That's right. Give it right back to me.
And none of these are the main event.
Nope.
No.
Because coming up now, after everything we've sat through some really good cruiserweight matches. We've sat through some really bad mid-card matches. We went through whatever the Steiners do. And now we've got a streak on the line. 154 and counting. Mm-hmm. A man who is not a man. He's a force of nature. He's Lesnar before Lesnar. And you've got the people's champion of another brand.
Yep.
Going against each other for the World Heavyweight Championship. You've got Bill Goldberg against Diamond Dallas Page.
So, given the way you just introduced Goldberg as, 154 and 0, this unstoppable force in wrestling, why does he need security guards?
Oh, man.
Because that's
And why do the security guards look like the fucking Dewey from Scream? Like, they can't actually protect you. Like, Goldberg is the only one who can protect Goldberg if
Dewey.
shit goes down.
First off, Jeff, fuck you for giving these guys that much credit of being Dewey from Scream. They were the Dewey knockoff from Scary Movie. That's who they were.
It's probably more accurate.
yeah.
Say what you want, but it's a badass entrance.
It is. It's so unnecessary, but it's like, yeah,
And they
that's a
follow him
badass
all the
man
way
right
out.
there.
They do the little Mark Henry thing with the camera behind the back. It comes down like this.
Yeah.
See,
As much as I don't like Bill Goldberg for what he did, and you know what you fucking did.
He knows what he did.
I
Bret
actually
Hart knows what he did.
I actually watched that during this match.
Watch that match during that match.
I did. I paused it. I went back. This is why it took me 6 hours to watch this pay-per-view.
Okay.
Because I told you, I was so bored with a lot of times in this pay-per-view that I just kept going down rabbit holes. So as Goldberg came out, I stopped it. And then I went on and I watched an interview of Goldberg talking about that match with Brett. And then I watched a breakdown of Stevie Richards for 16 minutes talking about that match.
Tell me what you thought about it. I'm curious. We've never. It's the first time I think you've really watched a lot about it. What are your opinions?
Well, I honestly think it's just unfortunate.
Of course it was.
But I also don't. I just think it was a mistake. I really do.
I don't think anybody thinks Goldberg did it
intentionally
to try to murder Brett.
It was interesting because when I watched the interview, it was about a 4 or 5 minute clip of him just talking about it. He's like, I get really upset when people accuse me of like really trying to end Brett's career. He's like, if I wanted to actually end Brett's career, there's a lot of other things I could have fucking done to have done that. He's like, I don't know. He's like, it's one of the great. He's like, I don't have a lot of mistakes. I don't have a lot of regrets from my career in wrestling and everything. He's like, that is absolutely the one of two that I have is that I did not do that kick right. It's like, I don't know.
And that's putting it mildly.
Yeah. And then of course I watching Stevie Richards do this was like watching somebody kind of like go back and like watch the Kennedy assassination. He's like, watch his head. It goes back into the left. Back into the left. But I mean, it is what it is.
I expected more, Dave. I just thought you'd have more for me than that. But I mean, okay, cool.
Look, we're 2 hours and 21 minutes into this already.
Yeah, so it's too late now.
And I think we probably will have an opportunity to really talk about that in more detail. I would love to go ahead and talk about it for 30 minutes, but I don't think we have the time to do that at part of this episode. But I think it's worth kind of putting a pin in that and coming back to it at a later.
I will remember you said that.
Please do. Because
next week on Nothing Good.
Yeah, we talking about it.
Just while we're doing the thing we're doing for next week's episode, that's just gonna be the 2 episodes in one, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Wait until you see what we're doing. We got planned for you for that one. But those cops weren't there to protect Bill Goldberg. Bill Goldberg was there to protect them cops. They were too afraid to leave until he came out. And that's why they felt safe leaving that room. Yeah. But again, say everything you want to say about Goldberg. That entrance was legit.
It's badass.
It's real fucking badass. Yeah.
And this match was the best match of the night.
Yeah. They both came to play.
It was good.
DDP, as always, I've always been a mark for Diamond Dallas Page, even in his shitty WWF run. I think DDP is just, for his age, we talked about a million times, for his age, what he accomplished at the age he was, it's fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was, banging Kimberly Page the entire time was also phenomenal.
We should have known that because they have the same last name.
Yeah, how about that shit?
Is that how that works?
But I think the match itself was 10 minutes. Fuck, that match could have gone another 5-6 minutes.
That was Bill Goldberg's matches were like my sex life. If you got past 2 minutes, you were pretty lucky.
Okay.
At that point, right? So the fact that this match went 10 minutes, at minute 8, I thought somebody was going to lean into him and go, "Goldberg, you okay? You all right? Is it me? Are you having trouble finishing?
Oh no."
What can I do to speed this up?
Christ.
And Goldberg was very Goldberg. Dave cracks himself up again.
I was not ready for that.
Oh shit.
Goldberg, and to his credit, I mean, by this point, he's only really been doing this on a big stage for a couple years, not even. And he's operating at a high level because he's an athlete, and that helps.
Yeah.
He's a high level athlete.
Guy can fucking move.
But DDP had a lot of experience, and he's definitely guided Goldberg through this match, I'm sure. And say what you want about the RKO, which I love the RKO, but man, I'm a mark for the Diamond Cutter. Day. It's just, god damn it, it's so good. It doesn't even have to be anything flashy. It's just an awesome move.
And you can do it. Like, it can out of nowhere, right?
One mistake. That's all it takes.
That's all it takes.
But I would say this match was definitely the best match of the night. Infinitely best match of the night. The two best matches of the night that made it feel like a pay-per-view was the Steiner deal and this match. Everything else was Nitro heavy. Not Nitro light, Nitro heavy.
Yeah.
Full-bodied Nitro. 8.6 Nitro.
Oh.
Yeah.
Enough to fill you up.
So it's definitely a stout then.
Oh, it's a stout. It's a stout Nitro.
Good.
That's not a good thing.
Probably not. But I'm sure Jeff's had about 25 of them, though. Different ones over the life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to experiment a little.
Can we talk a little bit about DDP here for a second?
I'll always talk about DDP.
We are talking about DDP.
I just want to go ahead and everything about Diamond Dallas Page was fucking over at this point. Everybody loved Diamond Dallas Page. Everybody wanted Diamond Dallas Page to succeed.
Yes.
And my man comes out here just looking like a Karen who was in the mid-perm
his blowout. I don't know if that's what you call it.
It
was successful.
It was
definitely a perm the way it was curled.
It was, and it's like he got out of the thing they put over your head. I don't know what that thing's called.
Hair dryer
is maybe like the little thing they put around to perm it. I don't know. I don't do that obviously.
You should.
But like I feel like when he got into this match, it's because like he saw his like significant other outside, like at talking to like her man. Like in some other one, it's like was just taking her earrings out,
okay.
and the fucking blowout was all over the place.
I got you.
And going up against Goldberg, whose neck looks like a pizza shovel.
Shit.
Right?
Now I see it.
Sure.
Like the whole just and it's such an interesting visual of these two.
Pizza shovel.
It does. I mean, Brock Lesnar looks like 17 pizza shovels.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah. But it's even just an interesting juxtaposition of what these two guys look like because, Goldberg looks like he's the chiseled athlete and DDP looks like just some dude you just bumped into at the bar who, just can go ahead and diamond cut you through a pool table.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some of the opponents that Goldberg has faced, like he looks huge up against, but like him and DDP are the same height.
Yeah. DDP's not a small dude.
Yeah. So he's not like overshadowed by him, but he looks like just a regular dude.
Yeah. But there's not a point in this match where you don't believe that DDP can win. And I think of everything that you're talking about in this pay-per-view, that's one of those things that I give them credit is that, as much as WCW'd this fucking pay-per-view, they did get this match right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because
for sure.
I think it's a big part of it is because two younger guys, DDP's not younger, two hungry guys, better yet, who are in the main event, not Hogan, not Warrior, which was fucking wise, and I feel like that was by design.
Yeah, and we talked about it earlier, like how much ego played a factor in this pay-per-view. It didn't in this match.
Oh, they went out and they told
They just did their
fair
thing.
story.
Yeah.
In a short amount of time, 10 minutes for a heavyweight title bout. It's pretty impressive to tell a good story.
Again, Jones, 10 minutes is short only by a matter of perspective.
Well, I feel like this match could have been 20 minutes. Granted, Goldberg.
Whoa.
I feel like
don't get too crazy now, Jones.
I think DDP and Goldberg could have gone another 9 to 11 minutes, and really told a better story. But either way, it was still good. It was easily only 5. If there was a 5-star match on this show, this was the match.
This is the only one. Yeah.
Well, I mean, a 10-minute Goldberg match is a 20-minute match to anybody else.
Of those 154 wins, I wonder how many were Silver Kings and La Parkas.
Probably at least 117.
Oh shit,
It's a lot.
Poor La Parka.
Well, and it's good that they gave this match, that they had this match at the end of the card. Not just because it's for the championship, because obviously if you kind of talk about these 4 matches we talked about here at the round out this card, this is probably the one that's the least interesting. But at the time, the streak was everything, right? I was fucking hook, line, and sinker on the streak here for Goldberg when this was going on. This Halloween Havoc is kind of right in the middle of what I would consider my WCW heyday. Like this is when I was really into it because I love DDP.
Yeah.
And you would sometimes see the DDP, like the light blue NWO shirts popping up. Like, is DDP going to join the Wolfpack? Is he going to join, Black and White? Is he going to join? Is he just going to stay out on his own? There's a lot of kind of stuff going on there. And of course, Goldberg was just mowing people down.
Yeah.
Like the way that
he went on a huge tear through WCW.
The way like Bronson Reed was like trying to get pushed over by battling like 110-pound, NXT guy, just so they could go ahead and try to get him some momentum as being an unstoppable force. So I was all into that, and I did enjoy this match a lot.
Yeah.
The last thing I'm going to say about this match, you guys, we can wrap it up. I didn't write it down, but I made a mental note. One of my favorite parts about this whole match is that Goldberg didn't have an easy time.
He had to work for it.
And he sold.
Yeah.
And he was selling after the match. And it wasn't like the handshake and the hug, all that stuff was cool, but it was just Goldberg's not invincible. And with the right opponent, you can push this motherfucker.
Yeah, at the end of the day, he's still just a guy.
And I dug that story. I dug that
DDP
feeling. Pushed him.
Uncovered that.
He pushed him. And if he'd have pinned him just a little quicker after that diamond cutter, maybe DDP would have won.
Goes back to who kicks out of a finish and what finishing move it is.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But all in all, I mean, it was a great episode of Nitro.
Yeah, it was a really great episode of Nitro. Technically,
Great Nitro.
Actually, the best
it
Nitro
was.
ever made.
Yeah, the best
was.
Halloween Nitro ever on Halloween Havoc. But all in all, it was an okay show. There were certainly some highs, like we just talked about, and a whole lot of lows, and just a bunch in the middle there.
I concur.
Yes.
So I guess that'll be it for us today, this
Yes.
morning. It's still morning.
It is still morning.
Yeah.
We've been talking to you for 2.5 hours, and it's still morning. That's how fucking early we did this.
That's
for
how
you.
committed we are to
That's
you
right.
people.
That's right.
It's for you,
We
not
got
for us.
some things coming down the pipeline that we were not talking about because we're still figuring it out because we're adults here.
But it's really the reason why we're not telling you about it is because, and we're still figuring it out, is not because we're being lazy. It's because this is kind of interesting about what we're doing, and we've never done it before, and we want to make sure that this is pretty awesome for you guys to kind of check it out. So
yes.
Well said. Well said.
and it involves video games
Yeah. And Halloween.
and Halloween.
And that's all you're saying.
That's all I'm saying.
all
I'm
I'm
not saying
saying.
anything else.
Yep.
Because I honestly don't know enough about what we're doing to actually talk about it more.
What are we doing? I don't even know.
I know the general premise
Yes.
of it, but the game and everything, I don't know enough about. So, or games, or maybe it's not a game at
You
all.
can stop talking.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm done.
So join us next week on Halloween to see what that is.
Yes.
We appreciate you all listening this week. We'll see you next week. Visit some shit in the archives. There's some really good shit in there
Yes,
that we've talked
do it.
about.
Do it. You won't. I know you won't.
You
but
won't.
You will.
But if you will, we'll see you there.
Truck nuts. Nothing good.